Dragon Ball. This Goku is terrifyingly strong. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Demon Clan. Demon Cultivator. Boom. Goku protected Shishi and Gohan behind him, and then looked into the jungle. Suddenly, a huge red figure walked out of it. It was called huge because it was at least more than 10 meters tall, making it a complete giant. The ferocious face resembles that of a demon from hell, filled with an aura of violence. There is a pair of demonic horns on the head like an ugly, holding a mace. Is this a demon clan? How can there be a demon clan here? Goku, save me. Bulma was caught in the hands of the demon at this time and was quite embarrassed. Goku's eyes turned cold and he stepped forward and cut off the demon's arm without saying a word, saving Bulma. The demon was angry. He didn't expect Goku to take action so decisively. In anger, he swung the stick at Goku, but he easily caught it with one hand. Bang. The force didn't even make Goku move back half an inch. Impossible. The demon's face changed with shock, and he couldn't hide his shock when he looked at Goku, who was less than his knees in front of him. Putting Bulma down, Goku motioned for her to go further away, then grabbed the mace in the demon's hand, and a flash of lightning flashed. The shocking palm of all nations. The strong electric current stimulated the muscles and caused muscle spasms. The demon could not let go at all. Goku lifted the mace high into the air and then smashed it to the ground. The ground roared, and he was severely injured in an instant. Ugh. He tried to struggle to get up, but was stepped on by a foot on his chest. The giant demon's chest felt tight, and he could not get up again. He stared at Goku with his big eyes, unable to conceal his horror. Don't kill me. I won't. Puff. Under Goku's force, the demon spat out a mouthful of blood again. Ding. Defeat the higher level demons, gain energy, and increase your ki by 1000. Where are you from? The demon became honest now and said directly, Demon Realm, Yang Marxing. I didn't know you were so strong, sir. I'm leaving now. Still want to leave? Goku looked cold and continued to ask, you came from the Demon Realm gate, right? Where is Mira? He spent a lot of effort to ask Mira to help him build the Star behind the Demon Realm gate into a training room. Although it was a bit cruel, the demon race and the 7th universe were essentially not on the same plane. Not even the god of destruction can completely suppress the demon realm. Therefore, the difference between the two is still very big. No matter how many demons he kills, he has no psychological burden. It's like the demons don't have any mercy on humans at all. She's not dead. I just defeated her and let her open the door to the devil world. Please. Goku didn't want to get too bloody in front of his wife, so he directly sealed the demon in front of him, then found a treasure good to put it in. When he had time, he would go to the gate of the demon world to see the situation. He hadn't gone to the demon realm gate in the past year, and he didn't expect that a strong man inside would take the initiative to find it. The giant demon in front of them is not very strong, but its strength is higher than that of Mira. It has almost 1000 combat power. It is already invincible on a planet of the level of Earth. Goku, what is this monster? Bulma and Shishi walked over, still a little confused at this time. Goku explained, and seeing that the two of them had no intention of going out for an outing, he sent them back to Baozi Mountain, and then went to the Demon Realm gate alone to find out. Come back soon. Be safe. After touching Gohan's head and hugging his two wives, Goku flew away. The gates to the devil world, Star. When Goku found Mira, she was indeed injured and was recovering from her injuries. Not only that, but most of the powerful demons that Mira helped Goku to capture from the entire Star snare were killed. Goku is not surprised by this. The rules of survival in the demon world are no different from those in the 7th universe. On the scale of the universe, different planets are different civilizations. As long as a powerful existence appears and can reach other planets, invasion and killing are inevitable. I'm very sorry, sir. Mira saw Goku arriving and hurriedly knelt down on the ground, a little scared. Get up. He waved his hand and released the demon. In Mirror's shocked eyes, he pointed at the demon and asked, "What's going on with the Yama star? Is it stronger than the Shura star?" Yama star and Shura star are very close. Originally, there was no conflict between wells and rivers, but recently a powerful demon king came and ruled Yan demon star. As for him, Mila looked at it with a complicated expression. The huge demon on the ground. He is Ashura's former opponent. Yama. He has a very powerful ability that can double his strength. Even Ashura is afraid of him. Of course, it is not worth mentioning in front of you, sir. Okay, not liking Mirror's flattery, Goku frowned and pointed at Yama on the ground. That means he's useless, right? Wait. After hearing this, Yama looked at the energy gradually gathering in Goku's hand and hurriedly said, I can offer everything, including everything about Yama Star and all the information about that Demon King, and swear allegiance to you." Oh. Goku withdrew the energy in his hand, walked to Ashura's throne, turned around and sat down, put one hand on his chin, and said with a cold look in his eyes, "Tell me about it." This is his goal, a Demon King. What kind of strength does that have? It can't be at Frieza's level. Although the demon world is vast, it is only the entire 7th universe. How could a Frieza pop up from any corner? In the entire 7th universe, there may be many people who can reach the level of Frieza, but with that kind of strength, as long as you don't seek death, you can completely occupy a universe and dominate it. Although Frieza dared to claim the title of Emperor of the Universe directly and was able to do so for so long, the most important thing was that he had people to protect him. But it is undeniable that that kind of strength is not common in the entire universe. If we take the planets in the entire universe as a unit, there may not be such an existence among the billions of living planets. Yes, that Demon King is a demon cultivator from King Dapura. He came here because of the turmoil in the Demon Temple. In terms of strength, he is probably at the lower level of the Demon King. What does the Demon King's first level mean? Goku tapped his fingertips and frowned. Mirror stood aside and explained respectfully, "Sir, the basic Demon King is probably a demon with a combat power of more than 10,000. The intermediate Demon King is 10 times more powerful. By analogy, 1 million is a big demon. Of course, if it is a demon in the demon world, Master Wang Dapura's strength is already unpredictable. That means that guy's combat power is between 10,000 and 100,000. No, that's right. To be precise, the last time someone saw Master Moxiu take action, it should have been 80,000 combat power. After Yanemo finished speaking, he shut his mouth, worried that if he spoke anymore, he would be killed directly by Goku. At this time Goku was deep in thought. His own value panel flashed in his mind. Host, Son Goku bloodline, Saiyan, lower level warrior, age 18 key, combat power 21,200, 6/10, superpower, gravity control, 20 times gravity. A year of rest and recuperation not only allowed him to regain his potential, but also made steady progress in strength, breaking through the 20,000 mark. I think Raditz, Vegeta and others will have wonderful expressions when they arrive on Earth. Chapter 52. The storm is coming. The Demon King named Moxiu has a combat power of 80,000. This should be an accurate value if the transformation is not taken into account. But this was just the last time he took action. Goku's face darkened. When was the last time, sir? About 13 years ago. That master destroyed another enemy's planet. Who? Now, Lord Nero. She is also a Demon King. Her strength is said to be equal to that of the Demon Cultivator, but the Demon Cultivator's strength suddenly increased, so he occupied that planet. After thinking for a moment, Goku suddenly looked at Yama. This guy never told the reason for going to Earth. There was a problem. What are you doing on Earth, Yan? Emo's face changed slightly, but he still trembled and prostrated on the ground. Yes, it was Master Moxiu who asked me to find a passage to the universe outside the demon world, so I came to find Ashura, and then I found out that Ashura had heading outside the demon world. The magic cultivator wants to go out. This will cause trouble, so he wants to go to Earth? Why? Goku continued to ask. If he remembered correctly, it seems that the demons will be weakened if they enter the human universe point. Although the weakening is not much, it certainly cannot be the same as in the demon world point. Therefore, if there is no special reason, the demons would not like to enter the normal universe point at this time. Mirror suddenly interjected, "Sir, I have heard a rumor that Dapura, the former king of the demon world, seems to have discovered a treasure that can enhance strength, but it can only be used in the human world." Huh? What is that? I don't know. I've only heard of it. A good thing that can improve your strength. Frowning. What is that? Without thinking about it for too long, Goku felt a sense of urgency at this moment. The strength of the demon cultivator was too strong. It was not impossible for him to contend with it in a short time, but the price was too high. That is to enter the spiritual time room and fully activate your potential in a short period of time. Point in this way, his strength will increase several times in a short period of time. It is enough to fight against the demonic cultivator, but in this case, I don't know how long it will take to regain his potential, not to mention that his potential has not yet grown to its peak point. I'm afraid that the result of such consumption will be that his road will become narrower and narrower. The gain outweighs the loss. Point. Boom. A burst of energy suddenly burst out from his hand, killing Yama directly. Ding. Kill the demon Yama, gain energy, and increase your ki by 1000. Mirror's face was expressionless, as if she hadn't seen it, but judging from the way she lowered her eyebrows to hide it, she was probably not that calm inside. Goku stood up and walked towards the demon realm gate. There is no demon realm gate here, and Yama has never been here before. Leaving, a series of energy lasers killed all the surrounding demons, leaving only Mirror. Goku glanced at her slightly and said, "If the demon cultivator still finds the door to the demon world, you should know what to do." Mirror hesitated for a moment, then bowed slightly. "I understand. Of course she can't stop a demon king, but she can inform Goku in advance. If she doesn't do this, she has to be prepared to take risks." Goku doesn't want to destroy the door to the demon realm. This demon realm training room is very important to him. Point. If he were not in the demon realm, it would be difficult for Goku to find so many strong men with good combat capabilities in the universe for him to accumulate combat power. If he had to find them, he would probably have to wait for Frieza's legion to come to his door. Although the appearance of the demon cultivator is a threat to him now, as long as the time is right, the other party will become the cornerstone of his improvement in strength. It is a crisis, but also an opportunity. Leaving the demon world, Goku flew towards Baozi Mountain. Point. He was thinking about the next countermeasures along the way. He thought he could calm down for a while, but he didn't expect the crisis to come so suddenly. As expected, the world is full of dangers. If you want to live a peaceful life, you must have enough strength. The stronger the strength, the longer the peaceful time will be. Saiyans are known as a fighting race, but before the emergence of Super Saiyans, they were only above average in strength in the universe, and were not qualified to enjoy peace. The Frozen Demon Clan is strong enough, but it is still not enough. But it has a long time to enjoy, as long as it does not provoke the monsters that should not be provoked. And the existence that stands at the apex of the universe, the god of destruction, Beerus can sleep for hundreds of years without anyone disturbing him. As long as the universe is still there, he can enjoy all the privileges of the entire universe forever. This is the pyramid of the universe. Goku's current positioning is gradually clear, but there is still a long way to go. But one day, he will climb to the top of the pyramid step by step, and be above it. Time flies. 4 years have passed. In Baozi Mountain, a small figure curiously explored the jungle. He wore a hat with a 4-star Dragon Ball on his head. The tail behind him swayed. His big black eyes were attracted by the butterfly in front of him, and he chased after it. Wait, but in the process of chasing, because I was too selfless, I accidentally lost my way. Standing by a river with a butterfly in his hands, Gohan sniffed, his face shrinking, and he was about to cry. At this moment, a hand was placed on the top of his head. A man is not allowed to cry. Gohan, Dad. He raised his head and looked at the tall figure next to him in surprise. Goku picked up Gohan with a smile, put it on his shoulders, raised his hand, and pinched his nose. Okay, let's go back to eat. And then it's time to go to the martial arts teacher. Saiyan's house came to visit. Wiping his face, Gohan showed a pure smile. Goku's figure gradually flew high into the sky. After thinking for a while, he called for somersault clouds. As a result, 2 clouds flew over first like a competition. Goku smiled and put Gohan on one of them. The child was scared. She held onto his clothes tightly for fear of falling. Goku was a little helpless when he saw this. When he was a child, he was raised by Son Gohan. Because he was wild at first, and then he got better after being hit on the head. But one thing has not changed, that is, the warlike factor belonging to Saiyans is always active. With point therefore, although he will react to external stimulation, his first reaction is to be vigilant, not fearful. Point. Even if he is alone later, Goku can survive in Baozi Mountain very well. Point. However, Gohan is still young, and he will definitely change in the future, but after all, he can remember things, so after discussing with Bulma and Shishi, Goku still wants to send Gohan to Kame Sennin to study for a while. Point. It's not that he can't give guidance, but around his parents, Gohan is too dependent on them, and it's difficult for him to grow. Goku respects Shishi, but he will not let Gohan's talent be buried. At least he cannot forget the roots of being a martial artist and become Nobi Gohan. In that case, his father will be a failure. Point. It took a lot of effort for Gohan to get used to controlling somersault clouds. When he got home, Shishi had already prepared a table of meals. Bulma is not at home. Point. How can I put it? They are not compatible. Point. Bulma and Shishi have very different thoughts. It is not an exaggeration to say that they are two extremes. One is full of adventurous spirit and independent female opinions, while the other is single-minded. Point. A good wife and mother of the Gu family. Point. I don't know how many times they had troubles just because of Gohan's education problems. Goku was also very worried. If he went off the rails again, there would definitely be problems. In the end, he had no choice but to be separated for a while. Point. After eating, Goku took Gohan to Kame Sennin. Come back early for dinner, but, waving from a distance, he drove the somersault cloud away from Baozi Mountain. Point. With Shishi's fighting power, the beasts on Baozi Mountain are no match for her. They are just food, so naturally there is no danger. Chapter 53. Raditz arrives. At the same time, Goku took Gohan to visit Kame Sennin. Point. Outside the earth, a meteor streaked across the sky, passed straight through the atmosphere, and landed on a farm. Point. Upon seeing this, the farmer took a shotgun and walked over cautiously. However, he saw a strong shadow walking out of the crater. He was so frightened that the cigarette in his mouth fell to the ground, and he backed away. He fell to the ground. Point. A moment later, Raditz flew out of the universe spaceship and landed on the ground, feeling the light gravity around him with a look of disdain. Point. It was indeed a low-level planet. Did that guy Kakarot grow up in a place like this? He didn't destroy this planet. He was really just a low-level warrior. The farmer looked at Raditz in front of him. He was so frightened that he couldn't speak. He clenched the shotgun in his hand. Point. Raditz lowered his head and saw that the combat power detection device on his face was flashing a series of numbers and finally settled on 5 o'clock. He snorted disdainfully. Huh, you're rubbish with a combat power of only 5. What did you say? UB*******D. When the farmer saw this, he raised his shotgun and fired. Point. Bang. As a result, Raditz raised his hand to catch it, and with a flick of his finger, he beat the opponent to death as easily as he crushed an ant. Point. He snorted coldly. At this moment, the detector in his ear sounded an alarm, and a combat force of several hundred appeared within the detection range. Raditz's heart moved, and he flew in that direction. It's Kakarot. With some doubts, Raditz went in that direction. He came here this time because there were not many Saiyans in the universe. As the weakest of the three, he suddenly thought of his parents. He mentioned that he has a younger brother. Since we are both Saiyans, we shouldn't stay in a place like this forever. Soon, Raditz came to a plateau and saw Piccolo. Point. The white cloak was fluttering in the wind. He noticed something during the practice. He turned around suddenly and saw Raditz standing in front of him. Point. The combat power detector jumped and finally settled on the word 322. Raditz looked disdainful. Is the combat power 322? It's interesting, but it's still weak. What did you say? Piccolo put on a fighting stance and suddenly raised his hand to release a Kigen wave. Point boom. After the smoke and dust passed, Raditz was unscathed and still looked at Piccolo in front of him with disdain. Piccolo was extremely shocked at this time. He had already sensed the undisguised terrifying aura of the opponent and felt great pressure. At this moment, a test move made him more sure that the opponent was not bluffing. An unprecedented crisis and fear swept over him. Suddenly, the numbers on the detector next to Raditz's ear changed again, attracting Raditz's attention. He did not attack Piccolo, but flew away. Kakarot, have you even lost the dignity of a Saiyan? At this moment, Raditz was very sure that the earth in front of him showed no sign of destruction. As a Saiyan, after Frieza's brainwashing and years of management, he knew that he was a group of combatants who lived by destruction. Take destruction as the purpose, and take destruction as the meaning of your life. As everyone knows, this is just a task given to the Saiyans by Frieza, and he is just a tool that has lost even the most basic judgment ability. At the same time, Turtle Fairy House. Hello, Bulma. It's been a long time no see, teacher. Wushan. Goku put down little Gohan and greeted Kame Sennin. Krillin and Oolong also walked out of the room. This Kame Sennin house was very suitable for practice, far away from the troubles of the world. This is also the reason why Goku prefers Baozi Mountain. He can ignore the interference around him and practice wholeheartedly, but Gohan can't. So, by letting him enter the world of flowers too early, Goku was worried about affecting his potential. Goku, is this Gohan? Yeah. Bulma stepped forward and touched Gohan's head. Little Gohan was a little shy, but not towards Bulma, who was also very kind to him. The tail behind him moved slightly, and Krillin and Oolong looked at each other. There is a tail. It is indeed Goku's child. Haha, I originally wanted to ask the gods to seal his tail off, but then I thought about it carefully and realized that this would be good, so I kept it. Really, this is very dangerous, Bulma said, holding her forehead slightly. She originally wanted to cut off Gohan's tail. There is nothing wrong with this decision. It is also for Gohan's good. But because of this incident, she had a quarrel with Shishi, so she temporarily moved out of Baozi Mountain. Goku also had a headache and couldn't think of any good way for the two to resolve the conflict. Fortunately, Bulma did not transfer the conflict to Goku, but chose to let time dilute everything. Little Gohan was playing innocently with the old turtle. Hearing this, he turned to look at the tail behind him and grabbed it with his hands. Goku's tail has not been cut off, because although this tail makes Saiyans more wild, it also contains part of Saiyan's potential, that is, the power to transform into a giant ape 10 times the power. The real use of this power is not to turn into a giant ape. After all, with such a big body, the weakness of the tail is too obvious. The real value of the tail is that it allows a Saiyan's potential to always grow. This is very important and critical. Host, Son Goku bloodline, Saiyan, lower level warrior, age 22 key, combat power 27,000, 8/10, superpower, gravity control, 20 times gravity. In 4 years, Goku's combat power has only increased by 6,000, but his potential has been developed by 2 points. This means that the actual increase in his combat power should be more than 50,000. He once asked the gods to help seal his tail, but found that his potential had hardly increased. Since then, he has never thought about cutting off his tail. The moon has been destroyed anyway, so there will be no problem if he is careful. Of course, it doesn't mean that cutting off the tail will make it weaker. On the contrary, if the tail is cut off, the Saiyan's power will become easier to control, and the strength will not decrease, but increase in a short period of time. Outside the Turtle Fairy house, everyone was curiously playing with little Gohan, and the scene was warm. Hey, Goku, is there any conflict between you and Bulma? Krillin walked up to Goku and whispered. Goku paused slightly. No. Then, why didn't you? What Krillin wanted to say was why the two of them had not had children for 5 years. Before he could ask, Goku's expression changed slightly, and he turned to look at Raditz, who suddenly appeared. The others were also slightly startled and after reacting, they all looked at this tall figure who looked like a primitive man. Goku and Raditz are close in height. Although he has not deliberately changed anything over the years, the gravity he maintains at all times is even greater than that of planet Vegeta. Coupled with sufficient nutrition, his height is naturally higher. Bulma subconsciously held little Gohan in her arms. She keenly noticed the other person's tail and Goku's reaction. Raditz glanced over, still with the same disdainful attitude, and finally locked on Goku. Finally found you, Kakarot. Who are you? You're not lost, are you? Come on, come on. Klim felt that Goku was beside him, so he was naturally not afraid of him. He waved his hand to send him away, but he didn't notice the terrifying aura of him. Raditz's face darkened, and he suddenly took action. His tail turned into an after image and instantly whipped Klin away as he stepped forward. Klin came. Senin and others were shocked, but Goku still stood there, staring at Raditz in front of him, without speaking, but his face sank slightly. I originally thought that, since they were both Saiyans, the other party was related to me by blood, and there would be a trace of family affection between them, but now it seems that I have overthought it. These Saiyans who have lost planet Vegeta are just the lonely ghosts in the universe. Even if Raditz still recognized his brother's thoughts in the slightest, he would not want to drag him into the water. The Saiyan race had already existed in name only the moment planet Vegeta was destroyed. Chapter 54. You scared my family. Kakarot, you guy actually betrayed the pride of the Saiyans and got together with these inferior creatures. You guy, Raditz, had probably heard too many lessons from Vegeta and Nappa, but now he put on a lecturing tone and shouted angrily, "It's so embarrassing. I'm not a Kakarot. Besides, you talk too much." Goku began to lose his temper. He stared at Raditz in front of him and said in a deep voice, "You scared my family." Family. Raditz was stunned for a moment and then sneered. He was about to ridicule and then teach his brother, who had never been masked, a lesson, but all he felt was a blur in front of his eyes, and then severe pain hit him. Bang. With one blow, Raditz's face seemed to be deformed, and his figure instantly flew out along the sea surface, causing huge waves. No, it's impossible. Raditz reluctantly stood up on the sea, turned his head in disbelief, but suddenly felt a chill coming from behind him, and turned around suddenly. Goku was already standing behind him, raised a hand, stared at him indifferently, and spit out a word. "Get out, you." B*********D. Raditz was in disbelief, but at this moment, the detector in his ear sounded an alarm crazily, accompanied by a dazzling red light and the number's beating point. When he saw that the number had quickly exceeded 4 digits, Raditz panicked. When he saw that Goku's combat power was finally fixed at 8,000, Raditz's face was already covered in cold sweat. Shouldn't this guy be a lower level warrior? How is that possible? I don't want to know what happened to you following those two guys, but as a blood sibling, I can give you one last warning. Get out now, and I will spare your life. The energy in Goku's hand has begun to gather, without any emotion. It was like Raditz suddenly thought of him, probably with a twisted mentality, after being oppressed by Vegeta and Nappa for a long time, and wanted to find some superiority from his brother, who had never been masked. He never felt that the crippled guy in front of him had anything to do with him. If it weren't for the fact that the blood of both of them came from Bardock, Goku would have taken action without hesitation, without even bothering to talk nonsense. Wait. Raditz changed his face, changed his domineering attitude, and said in a flattering manner, I have 2 companions, you should know, right? Kakarot, we are brothers. We are all Saiyans. Yes, we should unite as one. You, boss. Goku did not speak, but gradually increased the energy in his hand, turning it into a huge blue energy ball emerging from his palm. Gilu. Raditz's expression changed drastically, and then he turned around and flew away without hesitation. But the direction is not to his own universe spacecraft, but to Turtle Fairy Island not far away. The kid just now has a tail, and he should be the son of Kakarot and the natives of this planet. Damn it, I must. Crazy thoughts flashed through his mind, but just the next moment, his fantasy was interrupted. Goku appeared in front of him coldly and punched out. Bang. Puff. Raditz looked at Goku, who was so close. His eyes were full of disbelief. He vomited blood, and his life began to drain away rapidly. He raised his hand to grab Goku's shoulder, but he threw it away, and took off the detector floating on the sea. The sea surface was soon dyed red. PFFD. Kakarot, you guy, Nappa, and Vegeta already know of your existence. They only need 1 year to reach this planet. Just wait. Damn it. Boom. A kick and wave completely destroyed the corpse, and the sea surface surged with the waves, and soon returned to calm. Goku looked up at Piccolo not far away and smiled. But in Piccolo's eyes, this smile was a bit scary at the moment, so he decisively turned around and flew away. This guy is indeed a monster. Goku's thought at this time was, I have to hire a personal trainer for Gohan. Senin's martial arts philosophy is very upright, and can even be said to be the most orthodox martial arts philosophy, but it is not suitable for everyone. Now that martial arts has gradually declined on the earth, Gohan has greater potential. I'm afraid it will be difficult to find so many opponents he experienced. Although Piccolo's method is a bit crude, it is suitable for Saiyans as an enlightenment. The key is that he is ruthless and ruthless. If it were Goku, he would have no choice but to use the same method as Senin to help him slowly consolidate his foundation. The main reason is that I really can't do it to my own child. After accidentally bumping into him, neither Shishi nor Bulma could spare him, even if they knew that Saiyans were not that fragile. Back at Kamisenia, Goku casually handed the detector to Bulma. It's a very interesting little thing, but it seems to be able to share information between universes. You should study it. It seems to be able to detect combat effectiveness. Let me take a look. As he spoke, Bulma used the tools in the universal capsule to start disassembling and studying it. He quickly dismantled the part used for sharing intelligence and retained the parts for combat effectiveness monitoring and started playing with it with great interest. Goku didn't bother him. He brought Gohan here this time, just to let him get to know people and get familiar with the outside world. Otherwise, his character would be problematic if he stayed at Baozi Mountain all the time. Let me see. The old turtle's combat power is 130. Bulma used a detector to detect it and discovered the combat power of the turtle immortal. Hey, me, Senin pointed at himself in surprise. In fact, this was of course the result of hiding his combat power. In Goku's opinion, this Wushan teacher had worked hard over the years, and his combat power must have exceeded 400. I don't know how specific it is, but his control of ki is definitely top notch, and it's normal to be able to control ki at this level. What about me? Bulma, look at mine. Klin also stood up and said. Bulma also looked at it with the detector. Let me see. Klin, your combat power is actually 230. Klin was very happy when he heard this. Haha, doesn't that mean I have surpassed Teacher Wushan? Oh, this thing is really amazing. Turtle Immortal sighed somewhat. This kind of intuitive detection of combat effectiveness is still a bit novel for him as a martial artist. After all, although he can usually feel the strength of others' ki, it is not as intuitive as this. After a while, Bulma was almost done playing. After thoroughly studying the structure of the detector, he learned that Raditz also had a spaceship, so he planned to go with Goku to get the spaceship back and study it. Goku also took the opportunity to tell Kamazan and Krillin the information Raditz said, and asked them to convey it to Saiyan Jinfan, Yamcha and others. Although I don't expect them to play a big role, they have motivation only when they have goals. A few of them have been a little lazy in recent years. Ever since Piccolo and the androids were eliminated by Goku, they have not been neglected in the past few years, but it is true that their strength has basically not improved. Krillin is still practicing here at Senin. Saiyan rice and dumplings have lived in the mountains for a long time. It seems that they have tried to challenge the journey to heaven. The test of the temple. And what about Yamcha? Because his image was pretty good, he wandered around and became a playboy. He was almost useless. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Rules of the Underworld. Goku, is that Raditz really your brother? On the plane, Bulma glanced sideways at Goku, who was holding the sleeping Gohan, with a worried tone. Goku didn't have much of a reaction. He just nodded and smiled. Don't think too much. I'm a Saiyan on Earth. Those guys are just universe bandits who can't even find their own planet. I don't let them hurt you. Well, I believe you. Bulma smiled happily. The main conflict between her and Shishi was the difference in thinking. In essence, both of them loved Goku. The reason why she left Baozi Mountain was just to use time to dilute everything, but she was not worried that Goku would gradually forget her arriving at the crash site of the spaceship. Bulma used a warehouse universal capsule as a container and asked Goku to put the spacecraft in and bring it back to Metropolis, which is now the West capital point. After years of development, the Earth's technology has become more and more powerful, and many technological cities have appeared, so the metropolis has become the capital of the West point. Of course, today's western capital is still the top super metropolis, because Magnum Capsule Group is located here. Little Gohan is here. I really miss my grandma. Come give me a hug, Gohan. Tell grandpa what toys you like, and he will make them for you. When the brave couple saw Goku bringing little Gohan over, they burst into laughter. The couple surrounded Gohan and doted on him. Bulma sighed, feeling a little lonely. Goku held her waist, and the nephrite was fragrant. Bulma also leaned on his chest. You don't blame me, do you? I didn't give you a cute baby, won't? Bulma looked up, with a little moisture in his eyes, and slowly moved closer. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Brive had already taken little Gohan to visit the botanical garden at this time. The little guy also liked the two old people very much, and was not so restrained here. Bulma and Goku are also married, but they have not had children for 5 years. The most fundamental reason is that Bulma feels that she is not ready to be a mother and welcome the arrival of new life. This is probably the difference between her and Shishi. Although she is older, Bulma is more rational and intellectual. She is also a genius scientist. In her opinion, having children is not just about reproducing the next generation. If you give up all your life, time, and energy for the sake of your children, it is undoubtedly a failure. Not only is it unfair to you, but it is also unfair to your children. In the evening, Goku flew back to Baozi Mountain with Gohan. Goku hugged Gohan and said, Gohan, what do you say when you get home? Yeah, I know. Gohan nodded and said sensibly, I didn't go to Bulma's mother's house, nor did I go to see my grandparents. Well, you're so good. I'll take you fishing next time. Yeah. After playing for a day, Gohan was still very energetic and happy. After another 2 minutes, the father and son returned to their home in Baozishan. Shishi, we are back. Gohan, really? How long are you two going to play outside? You come back so late, the food will be cold. Shishi hugged Gohan, rolled his eyes at Goku, and walked into the house. Goku scratched his head and followed with a smile at the dinner table. Goku was in a hurry, but Gohan seemed to have no appetite. How could the Breves let their little grandson go hungry? They bought a lot of delicious food, as well as cakes and snacks, that they usually couldn't eat. Shishi was a little surprised when he saw this and said, Gohan, what's wrong? Do you have no appetite? Ahem. Goku almost choked and hurriedly took a sip of water. He explained hurriedly, haha, I must have eaten enough at Kamasenaya. As a kid, I have a small appetite, so I ate it all. Is that so? But I just called and asked, and Clint said Kame Center was making dinner, Shishi said while serving rice. Spicy pills. Goku took the large bowl of rice, but his chopsticks froze. His face was covered with cold sweat, and he prayed secretly in his heart. Gohan, it's up to you. Hiccup. Gohan is also an honest boy. He was quite happy before, but now facing his usually strict mother, he didn't dare to raise his head at all. He sat in his seat with his head lowered, his hands tangled together, and he held it in for a long time. He raised his head and said, I didn't go to my grandparents' house. I didn't see Bulma's mother either. Okay, now my hanging heart is completely dead. He carefully looked at Shishi and found that she had no reaction and just touched Gohan's head. Okay, but if you still want to eat, Gohan, eat more. Otherwise you will be hungry and unable to sleep at night. Gohan started eating. After the tense dinner, she sent Gohan back to his room to put him to sleep, put away the dishes, and returned to the room, sitting in the living room without saying a word, waiting for something. Goku knew that she must be waiting for him to explain, but what should he say at this time? It seemed that everything he said was nonsense. So Goku was heartbroken. After walking over, he didn't give Shishi a chance to speak. He directly picked up Shishi and walked to the bedroom. Goku, hey, wait, Few days later, Goku took Gohan out fishing. Goku, don't take Gohan too far. Come back early for dinner, okay? Shishi stood at the door, handed a huge lunchbox to Goku, and warned gently, "New." After waving goodbye to Shishi, Goku took Gohan out the door. Well, usually it would be troublesome if he wanted to go out, but as long as he took Gohan with him, it would be no problem. Shishi felt that he must be going out for spiritual practice, and that he was not doing his job properly. His reason was, "I do it all for my son, this wave uses magic to defeat magic. Dad, where should we go fishing?" "Go to the temple of heaven." Huh. Gohan sat on Goku's lap. Hearing this, he looked up at him in confusion. "Where is the celestial temple?" About 10 minutes later, Goku flew all the way to the celestial temple and saw several familiar figures: Saiyan, Rice, Kellen, Yamcha and Yakirobe. Well, and dumplings are also practiced here. "Goku, you're here." Bobo was instructing a few people to practice and saw Goku saying hello. Goku nodded and put down little Gohan. As soon as he landed, he put his hands on his knees and gasped for air. His physique was not good enough. The oxygen in the celestial temple is thin, and the physical requirements of those who come up are very high. But as a Saiyan, you can quickly adapt to this problem. At the same time, the environment here is also a place where you can practice better. After greeting Krillin and others, Goku came to the god. How about that? The God also understood his purpose at this time, but he shook his head with some embarrassment and said, "I have conveyed your request to Lord Yama, but because you are still in the human world, it has never been passed, so feel sorry." "Is that so?" Goku also frowned a little when he heard this. The Vitality Bomb and Kaioken in KO's hands were killer moves, so he naturally wouldn't give up. But if a person is not dead yet, how can he enter the underworld to practice? This kind of thing violates the rules of the universe, so Yama King never passes. Even if Goku defeats Piccolo de Mayo, it is considered a great merit. Not only can he go to heaven after death, but he can also go to practice with K1 without any problem. But the premise is that you have to wait until he dies. This is a bit difficult to handle. Do we really need to release our potential in advance? Goku was deep in thought. He really didn't want to die prematurely if it was not necessary. Chapter 56 Golden Apple. Just when Goku was at a loss and even considered whether to use the Dragon Balls to go directly to the underworld, the fortune teller suddenly appeared here. "Oh, Goku, I already know about you and that Saiyan. It's really a big crisis. Grandma. Divination. Why are you here?" Krillin and others also gathered around. They all knew the news that the Saiyans were about to attack, so they were passed the test by the gods and came here to practice. Not only that, Cat Immortal also passed through many of the last remaining martial arts masters on Earth to practice. Unfortunately, martial arts has declined to completely, so there are fewer and fewer real martial arts masters. The gods are now aware of the decline of the Earth's martial arts masters. But there is nothing they can do to stop it, and they can only wait for the opportunity. The fortune teller hurried over and first expressed that this time was very dangerous. She seemed to see the possible destruction of the earth through the crystal ball, so she couldn't sit still. But she brought good news. "I've helped you with the matter of finding the King of K to practice. If you're ready, just ask the gods to take you to the underworld to find King Yama." "Really? Thank you, fortune teller." Goku's face lit up. He didn't expect to get an unexpected harvest. Now he didn't have to waste the Dragon Balls. When Tenjin Fan and others learned that Goku was going to the KO to practice, they were very envious for a while. They had just climbed to the Tenjin Shrine. "Is this kid your son? He is exactly the same as you." Little Gohan was hiding behind Goku, and the fortune teller didn't look very friendly. The key was that he didn't recognize her, and she was a bit unfamiliar with her. Yes. Goku patted little Gohan's head and said, "This is Granny Fortune Teller, the elder sister of Kame Sennin you have met. She is a very good person. HMPH. The little devil from back then has become very good at talking. Let me take a look." The fortune teller walked up to him, put the crystal ball in front of Gohan and said, "Let me give this little devil a fortune telling. It's free. Just consider it as a meeting gift." Then he began to recite an obscure incantation, and along with the incantation, the crystal ball lit up. After a long time, the fortune teller said with a shocked look on her face, "This kid's potential is quite amazing. Goku, you have to train him well." "That's indeed what I planned, Granny Fortune Teller." Goku smiled, and after watching the fortune teller leave, he patted Gohan on the head. While thinking about how to let Piccolo give guidance to little Gohan, the words of God are inappropriate. God is the kind side of Piccolo, and his style of doing things can only be said to be too gentle and too indecisive. This is also a common problem among most orthodox martial arts masters. Leaving 3 points or even 7 points in a shot is fine for martial arts masters to compete with each other, but this habit is not good against true universe level experts. Goku's philosophy is that you can hold back, but you have to consider the situation and the target. Indiscriminate kindness and tolerance will only become a fatal weakness. An enemy who poses no threat is a good enemy. It's not difficult to ask Piccolo to help. The real trouble is how to explain it to Shishi. By the way, there's also Bulma. She probably won't agree either. It seems like this is the only way to go. Sorry Shishi, I will make it up to you later. He took Gohan to go fishing and have a picnic, even spending his personal money to play with Gohan for a whole day, and then Goku sent Gohan home. After dinner, Goku found Shishi and explained that he was going to the underworld to practice. Although Shishi was a little reluctant, she still supported him. "You must come back safely," New. Saying goodbye to Shishi, Goku headed towards a celestial temple, diverting halfway to the plateau where Piccolo was located. After some coercion and request, Zhi used reason, physics, and moved with emotion, and Piccolo agreed to play the role of blackface and rob people. Yes, this is his plan. Well, the main reason is that he really can't think of any way to make Shishi agree to send little Gohan out or to train with Piccolo, the former Demon King, for a year. Piccolo was initially disdainful of doing such a thing and naturally resisted, but Goku patted him on the shoulder directly. "Don't worry, no one will doubt your motives if you do this. As long as you don't say it, and I don't say it, no one will doubt it." Piccolo. After getting angry, Piccolo looked at Goku flying away. His face turned green with anger. "Training your son? Okay, very good. Not only do I want to train him, but I also want to train him to be the strongest." Piccolo believes that he is no longer a match for Goku, but as he still has the ambition to conquer the world, he will not let go of this excellent opportunity. Son Goku, just wait. This will be your biggest failure. Immediately, Piccolo went directly to Baozi Mountain and grabbed little Gohan while he was right outside the door. Gohan. Shishi was frightened and wanted to chase him, but there was no way she could catch him. In the end, he could only watch Piccolo take Gohan away, and he passed out in desperation. At the last moment, a pair of hands caught her, and Goku sighed a little, and it turned out to be like this. He had already gone to the Celestial Temple, but thought that Shishi might have to bear the pain of losing her husband and child again. After struggling for a year in depression, he still couldn't bear it, and rushed back halfway. After a long time, Shishi woke up. "Gohan. Where is my Gohan?" "Goku, I saw Gohan was captured by Piccolo de Mayo. Go and save him." Tears were already welling up in his eyes, and he was completely panicked. Goku could only hold her in his arms and comfort her, and it took a long time for Shishi to calm down. In the end, Goku stayed with Shishi for 2 months. After her mood stabilized, she promised to pick Gohan home when she came back, which Shishi reluctantly accepted. He went to notify Bulma and asked her to take care of Shishi before heading to the underworld. The underworld, the palace of hell. Outside the hall, a Huanquan road with no end in sight stretches continuously, like a giant dragon among the clouds and mist, with countless souls lining up above it. "Lord Yama, this is Son Goku." The god looked a little reserved and stood in front of the huge Yama. Goku's first reaction when he saw Yama King was, is this guy the same race as Ox King? Oh, god of the earth, king. Yama was a little reluctant. He glanced at Goku, kept moving his hands, and pointed to the side door and said, someone can take him there. KO is at the end of the snake path. Yes, Green Ghost Messenger came over and showed Goku the way, and the god left the underworld after a few words of warning point. When he came to the entrance of the snake passage, Goku took a look. Sure enough, he couldn't see the end, but it was no problem. With his strength, it would take about an hour to get through, maybe faster. This is why he went to appease Shishi first. After thinking about it, whoosh, amidst the sound of breaking through the sky, Goku flew past the snake path. Suddenly, he thought of something, and suddenly rushed towards the golden clouds below the snake path. Buff. Below the snake passage is the first level of hell. It is very peaceful here, and only some incorporeal souls can be seen here and there. Goku glanced around and quickly settled on his target. It was a tree with golden peach-shaped fruits. This was such a good thing that he almost forgot about it. It is said that if you eat one, you will not be hungry for 100 days, and it is a good thing to increase your strength. I just don't know how much it can be improved. Licking the corner of his mouth, Goku was about to walk over, but was stopped by two ghosts, one red and one blue. Who are you? It's really strange that you have a physical body. That is to say, in hell, people are sentenced to be punished by Lord Yama. How can they have a physical body? Well, I accidentally fell from the snake path, Goku said casually. Blue Ghost looked at him. Is this really the case? Then, Goku expressed that he wanted to go back, and the two ghosts suddenly became interested. After all, it had been a long time since they had seen a person with a physical body coming down, but they didn't want to know what it would be like to be able to retain a physical body in the underworld. One is to have merit in merit, and the other is to be very strong and have privileges to achieve it. The last two ghosts were undoubtedly tricked by Goku, and they picked 3 golden apples by hand. Well, the name of these things in the underworld is indeed apples. Goodbye. Thank you. You're welcome, but don't come down again. The 2 ghosts were humiliated by him, so they were naturally a little angry, but the blue ghost was kind and honest. This guy is quite polite. Snort. In the passage out of hell, out of sight of the two, Goku took out a golden apple and ate it. Well, it tastes good. Chapter 57 Snake Princess blocks the way. Host, Son Goku Bloodline, Saiyan, lower level warrior, age 22 key, combat power 29,000, 9/10, superpower, gravity control, 20 times gravity. After eating the golden apple, Goku's combat power did not increase much, only 2,000, but his potential increased a bit. This is a bit scary, according to Goku's estimation. If he can improve his potential a little bit in a year, it would be considered fast. Because this has nothing to do with the intensity of his practice. If he accidentally overdraws his potential to increase his combat effectiveness, he may lose some of it. Therefore, he has been very careful and maintained a semi-cultivating state for several years, with a certain degree of relaxation. Only then did he finally increase his potential to 8 points, but he didn't expect that King Yama's golden apple would directly increase him by 1 point. This is a bit scary, but Goku didn't eat any more. This thing gave him a strange feeling. It seemed that only the first pill was very effective. If he ate more, he would only be satisfied. Otherwise, Yama King might not be able to stamp his mark here. No, it should be said that it is not his turn to sit in this position. However, this golden apple is indeed worthy of the reputation that only Yama King is qualified to enjoy it. It is indeed a good thing. The exit from hell turned out to be the desk drawer used by Lord Yama in his office. Not knowing how to complain, Goku immediately stepped onto the snake path again. This time he did not delay, but galloped all the way, and soon passed half of the snake path. But at this moment he suddenly felt the presence of Ki. He raised his eyebrows. Was there anyone here? Halfway through, he saw a ghost cleaning the snake path, but there shouldn't be anyone else who could handle it, and this aura. Demonic clan. A castle suddenly appeared in the middle of the snake passage. Just as Goku flew across the sky, a violent air current instantly stirred up. The servant who was drying the clothes was startled, and the clothes fell from the snake path. Ah, what's going on, Lord Shiji? Someone seemed to have flown over just now. What? Humph. A gloomy woman dressed as a noble lady appeared outside the castle, her eyes glowing red, staring at the end of the snake path. I didn't even say hello when I passed by. Don't you take me seriously? Humph. Soon, a small chaos star appeared in front of Goku. Landing directly on it, Goku sank his feet, leaving a shallow footprint on the ground, and quietly lowered his gravity. He himself has maintained a 20-fold increase in gravity, and including the King of Planets, the increase is as high as 30 times. He can withstand it, but his physical strength will also be lost quickly. Turning his head to look around, Goku quickly discovered a small house on the other side of the planet, and a Kinkei crawling aside. There is also a monkey nearby. Ho. Ho ho. Ouch. Bruce, where did you make me forget to count again? 17,000. No. Oops. K-Sama, I'm here to practice, please. The King of K raised his head and glanced at him, then stood up and walked towards his house with his hands behind his back. I'm not taught by everyone. First of all, you have to be able to tell jokes. Goku, he casually took out a universal capsule and threw it on the ground, revealing a huge bookshelf filled with about thousands of books, his every story collection and joke book on earth. King K was stunned for a moment, turned to look at him, and then, ah ha ha ha. You are such a good guy. Ha ha ha. Ah ha ha ha. After King K's King K planet was destroyed for some reasons, there was only this little left. In addition to other reasons, no master came to practice with him for a long time, so he stayed alone for too long, and got bored to the point where he started counting planets. How much grass is there? The point of laughter is naturally not very high. Goku doubted that he could make him laugh for a long time, even if he suddenly patted in point immediately. King K began to teach Goku how to practice, mainly his two special skills, Vitality Pill and Kaioken. It took Goku a month to master these two tricks. In the middle, King K asked him some problems in order to test his basic skills, which made him waste a weak point. But 1 month later, Goku stood on the King K star with an energy ball in his hand that was blue on the surface but white at the core, radiating light and making a buzzing sound. The majestic vitality and vast energy are gathered in it, and it contains more than just ki. Goku has an illusion that the thing in his hand seems to be the chaos star under his feet. Vitality bombs are not Giga waves. There is a huge difference between the two. Ho. Ho ho. Gilu. King K and his two pets held their breath and looked at the energy ball in Goku's hand, very shocked. This guy's really incredible. He mastered Kaioken and Vitality Pill so quickly. This is a super trick that I spent many years developing. And this strength is not simple. Maybe the legend will really come true in him. Maybe we can get rid of that B***** defreezer then. The more he thought about it, the more cold sweat appeared on King K's face. This was a dangerous idea. There was a reason why Frieza dared to dominate the universe under King K's jurisdiction and no one dared to control him. Otherwise, just for the sake of the order of the universe, KO could have found someone from the masters of the underworld to deal with it. Don't say that the rules don't allow it. The underworld is in charge of the dead, and the people in the underworld are not in charge of the dead. The reason why King K lives such a miserable life can only be said to be inextricably linked to Frieza's current dominance. But just as the KO was thinking about it, Goku raised his hand and threw the Vitality Pill out. Then his figure disappeared from the place very quickly. The next moment he came to the Vitality Pill and flew it away like a volleyball. Boom. The Vitality Pill eventually exploded over KO, causing a hurricane with considerable power. Goku roughly estimates that, based on the vitality provided by the plants on KO alone, the power of this Vitality Pill is equivalent to a full blow with at least 2000 combat power. This is scary enough. The Earth is hundreds of times larger than the King K planet today. There are so many people on Earth. It doesn't need to be much. It only needs a part that can borrow vitality. The gathered Vitality Pill is also very terrifying. Success. Oh. Ho ho ho. King K cheered and jumped up, in perfect sync with Babras on the side. Goku walked back to King K, bowed slightly and said, "Thank you, Ko-sama, I think it's time for me to leave. Hey? Can't you stay a little longer? It's rare to have someone to accompany me to relieve my boredom. As he spoke, he ran to Goku and rubbed against him as if he was teleporting. Goku was a little funny. This Ko-sama is really too lonely point, but thinking that she was probably still sad at the moment, Goku had no intention of staying for a long time, so he politely refused King K's offer to stay and set foot on the snake path. Oh, you are such an impatient young man, but these books are not bad. King K sighed and walked back to the bookshelf that Goku brought. These were enough to keep him occupied for a long time point. After setting foot on the snake path, Goku decisively used Wukan Jutsu to hurry up point along the way. He discovered that the clouds below the snake path were very similar to somersault clouds. Unfortunately, these clouds were similar in appearance, but could not be controlled point. It didn't take long for him to arrive in the middle of the snake path. When he saw the Snake Princess Palace below, he had no intention of stopping and was about to fly directly over, but at this moment, a huge snake suddenly rushed out of the Snake Princess Palace and pounced directly on him. Hey, what a rude guy, you didn't even say hello when you passed by. Goku flew upwards, then kept changing directions to avoid, only to find that the snake girl had no intention of giving up, and instead pressed closer and closer. His eyes darkened. Goku raised his hand and fired a Kigen wave, trying to teach Princess Snake in front of him a lesson point. He didn't know what the other party's status was in the underworld. If he had a special status, he might not be able to strike hard casually point, but he never expected that a Kigen wave would be swallowed directly by Shiji. Due to his carelessness, Goku didn't have time to dodge and was swallowed by Shiji's huge figure. Chapter 58 Magic Mountain Star. In a dark and desolate land, Goku fell from the sky point the moment he got his feet on the ground. Goku looked up at the dark sky and frowned. Is this the snake girl's belly? Something felt wrong point. Does Snake Girl have that much room in her belly? Forget it. Don't worry about it for now. Let's give it a try point. The arms are sunk at the waist, the feet are twice as wide as the shoulders, and a burst of energy bursts out of the body. The fighting strength of nearly 30,000 people suddenly exploded. In an instant, Goku's ki soared into the sky with great force. Like a lightning storm, setting off a roaring hurricane. There was sand and rocks flying under my feet, but the space around me showed no sign of change point. After another moment, the terrible aura dissipated. Goku frowned. It didn't work. Then, drink, with a roar, the air seemed to be squeezed out of the chest. The aura around Goku turned red, and his whole body was shrouded in red light. His aura gradually became violent and terrifying, and he ran around as if he was uncontrollable. 2x Kaioken. This energy is already a bit difficult to control. After all, Kaioken does not really increase power. It is difficult to control the energy immediately when the energy is suddenly exploded to this level. Therefore, the higher the multiple of Kaioken, it may not actually bring stronger strength point, as long as it exceeds the highest threshold that can be controlled. Even if the body can bear it, it will not be able to control it. It will only speed up physical exertion point. Goku now roughly estimates that the highest Kaioken multiple he can bear should be 5 to 10 times, but the ideal state that he can fully master is only 3 times. This ideal state means that he can control his energy without losing too much and can maintain the level of fighting with all his strength for a period of time point, no matter how high it is. It will be difficult to control him point, even if it exceeds 10 times. He might as well explode directly with the enemy, because the energy loss is too fast, which is a negative increase in strength point. If he can't kill the enemy at 10 times, he will save some points. If you use your strength to self-destruct, the chance of success may be higher. After a minute, Goku stopped wasting his energy point. The surrounding land had been partially cut away by his anger. He exhaled a breath of turbidity. Goku calmed down at this time and turned his head to look around. There is air, which means there are living things here. Forget it. Let's go and take a look first. I don't know where the snake girl is. Could it be that she really swallowed a planet? In a mine not far away, a large number of demon slaves were carrying ore, transporting huge pieces of ore out of the mine. Hurry up, those in front of you. Move quickly. You're blocking the road. You be asterisk 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 D. Suddenly, one of the slaves fell to the ground, raised his head, and looked forward in horror. He saw a figure sitting there looking down at him with indifferent eyes. Then he raised his hand, and a light blue bald head appeared all over his body. The demon immediately raised his hand, grinned and activated the device on his arm. No, boom, along with an explosion. The scream stopped abruptly. The slaves around him were silent and busy working, unable to think of any resistance. Let's go. At this moment, several demons sent a new batch of slaves over in chains. He walked up to the figure sitting there and said with a flattering expression, "Lord Dog, the new slave has been sent over. Let them go down. The ores on this planet are very precious and important to the demon cultivators. They must be mined more quickly." Og raised his hand to signal the other party to work. The leader of the demon clan did not dare to say anything. He waved his hand and asked his subordinates to continue driving away the slaves behind them, preparing to send them directly into the bottomless mine. Boom. At this moment, the surrounding ground began to shake, as if an earthquake had occurred. Og suddenly stood up. His body like a bucket was covered with small bumps. His whole body was blue, and a pair of scalded eyes swept across, with a look of surprise in his eyes. "Yes, sir." After a while, a demon hurriedly ran over, pointed behind him in panic and said, "Yes, there is an intruder." Whoosh. The next moment, Goku's figure had arrived behind the demon. He raised his hand to kill him with a burst of energy. He looked at Og. Now that he has found the true master, these minions are of little value. The demons next to Og stepped forward one after another, raised the energy transmitting device in their hands, and pointed it at him. But Og directly raised his hand and pushed him away. Walking forward, Og took a look, with bloodthirsty eyes showing, "Are you a human? So, this is indeed the devil's world?" Goku had already guessed the way he looked at the other party, and his brows furrowed deeper. How did he end up in the demon world? Did Princess Snake Princess swallow a demonic planet? How should I get out? This is the Magic Mountain Star, and I'm the general under the command of Lord Demon Cultivator, Og. A power emanates from Og. It is very strong, with a combat power of at least tens of thousands. Goku's eyes narrowed slightly. Moxiu. He had heard this name once. After signing up, Og stared at Goku, stretched out a hand and said, "Your strength is very good. How about it? Join the demon cultivator. It doesn't matter, even if you are a human. Forgive me for refusing. Well, Goku originally felt that, since the other party didn't want to do anything, he was going to ask for directions and then leave. But as soon as he refused, the other party fired a scarlet energy beam from his eyes and hit him directly. Boom. The figure flashed, and the rock wall behind him exploded instantly, leaving a terrifying passage that seemed to run through the earth. This power. Goku was secretly shocked. There was something wrong with this guy's fighting ability. His eyes were slightly focused, and Goku's expression was serious. Looking in the direction of Og, he saw that he had undergone amazing changes. I saw that the already plump body began to become bloated and swollen. After a while, a bucket turned into a behemoth more than 3 meters tall. There was a faint red light flashing, and the whole body revealed a terrifying sense of oppression. A pair of huge devil horns appeared on the top of his head, and his limbs and body became slender, completely different from before. What's even more frightening is that Og's energy is at least twice as strong as Goku's perception just now. A rough estimate is that the combat strength should be close to 30,000, which is about the same as myself. A burst of energy between Og's hands actually condensed into a 3-meter long spear. He stared at Goku with an even more dangerous look. "You are quite dangerous in my perception. I wanted to recruit you, but since you don't know how to lift me up, the same goes for killing you. Die." An indifferent voice came, and in an instant, Goku felt his body suddenly sink, and his movements became sluggish. What is this? Superpower? No, those eyes. Goku suddenly felt his eyes blur. Og had already come closer. The spear in his hand stabbed directly towards the door, and he started his killing move. This is the demon clan. Once they take action, they will not hesitate at all, let alone hold back. Danger. Without thinking too much, Goku decisively lifted his own gravity completely, and his speed soared. Whoosh. Goku's figure flashed and disappeared in place, but Og's figure also disappeared in a red light. Boom. Bang. The next moment, two figures collided in the air, and a thunderous sound erupted. Goku was still hit, and he felt as if his arms were hit hard by an iron rod. The surface of his skin stung extremely, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Ordinary weapons, even Ki, cannot hurt him casually, but Og's weapon is obviously closely related to his strength. At this moment, Goku also further confirmed Og's actual combat power after his transformation. 33,000 ! 4,000 more than me. It seems to be a tough battle. But this is what makes it interesting. The blood in his body seemed to be boiling, the energy in his body surged, and the surprise in Goku's eyes suddenly turned into fanaticism and fighting spirit. Chapter 59 Mysterious Man. Bang. Bang bang bang. The two powerful men fell into a fierce fight, and the terrifying force like a violent storm began to affect the surrounding environment, with flying sand and rocks, lightning and thunder. The mine below was already shaky due to Og's blow, and now it began to collapse due to the aftermath of the battle between the two, and countless demons were buried in it. Goku can't control that much, he gets stronger as he fights, and the fighting intent in his eyes is no less than the murderous intent in the eyes of Og, the Demon King. Og also became more and more surprised as he fought, and the more he fought, the more eager he became to fight. Hey! Suddenly, Og's eyes glowed red, and Goku became wary. There was something wrong with Og's eyes, and it seemed to be his innate ability. Sure enough, as Og's ability was activated, the previous feeling of slow movements came back again. The skin behind him tingled, as if he had a premonition of the coming threat. At the critical moment, Goku's long-trained super reflexes came into play. A red light flashed on the surface of the body, and disappeared. The next moment, a powerful and heavy knee hit Og's chest. Og suddenly spurted out a mouthful of blue blood, his eyes filled with disbelief. But then, this Og was not seriously injured by this blow. Instead, he immediately counterattacked. A scarlet light flashed across. Goku raised his head to avoid it, and his figure also retreated. Lowering his head again, Goku raised his hand to wipe it, and a blood stain appeared on his face. His eyes darkened. Og's difficulty was beyond his expectation. The demon's physical body also seems to be much stronger. TSK. Og wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth, grinned, and looked at Goku ferociously. Humans really like to play tricks. I really want to kill you more and more. It's not your turn to talk to me. Goku narrowed his eyes. In his opinion, the other party's ability was just a small trick. The ability to slow down one's own speed is obviously a superpower, not an honest method. At this time, Og did not hide anything. His eyes were still red, staring at Goku, and said, "This is my ability, the magic eye. As long as you are stared at by me, and the power does not exceed mine, your speed will be halved. I'm curious how you broke free." With a thought in his heart, Goku naturally wouldn't tell the other party that he could instantly increase his power with Kaioken. Explode your trump card. Your Death Star is already shining. Goku suddenly put his hands on both sides of his head and spread his fingers. Og's eyes glowed red, and he wanted to do it again, but this time it was not that simple. Sun. Punch. But, the terrifying bright light seemed to instantly illuminate the eternally dark demon world. The terrifying bright light not only stung Og's eyes and made him temporarily blind, but also caused countless demons to fall to the ground in agony. This secret technique seems simple, but for the universe and the demons who are not good at using ki to perceive with their eyes, it is simply a mysterious killing move. But Goku looked at Og, who was waving his weapon randomly on the spot, trying to stop his attack. His hands were already on his waist, and a terrible energy gathered quickly. However, just when he was about to send the opponent away with the strongest blow, a figure suddenly appeared aside, and disappeared directly with Og. Goku took a surprised look, and only saw the figure, and judged that it should be a woman. He put down his hands, and was actually escaped. TSK. All the ducks that reached his mouth flew away. Goku felt depressed, but he was not in a hurry. Instead, he closed his eyes slightly and soon sensed that Og's energy had not left the planet. At the same time, there was another, much weaker ki following him. Can't escape. He exploded instantly and rushed straight away. Since he couldn't find a way out, he had to improve his strength first. He didn't believe that the snake princess could really hold an infinite amount of space in her body. In a castle-style research institute, a white-haired demon put Og down, wearing a white research uniform. If it weren't for his skin and appearance, I'm afraid Goku wouldn't even recognize him as a demon. Damn. Saiyan. Og rubbed his eyes angrily and punched the ground angrily, causing the earth to tremble in an instant. The white-haired demon frowned when she saw this. Suddenly, she looked up into the distance. Her face changed slightly. She walked to Og, took out a needle from her pocket, and inserted it without any warning or warning. He hit Og's neck aorta. The Saiyan is chasing him. Kill him, you. Before Og could react, his body suddenly began to expand violently and uncontrollably. His already huge body shape changed again and became slightly bloated, but the aura on his body became more and more terrifying. When the white-haired figure saw this, he decisively withdrew and retreated into the castle. The next moment, Goku's figure appeared in mid-air. Looking at the changes in Og below, he was a little shocked. The opponent's energy began to soar, and it was probably close to 40,000 at this moment. What happened? No, we can't let the other party continue. If we let the other party transform again, I'm afraid it will only increase the variables. Kaioken, the energy all over his body, turned red and spread out in a radiating pattern. Goku quickly condensed all the energy into his right hand, and then rushed down without hesitation. The original 29,000 combat power also doubled at this moment, directly increasing to 58,000 points. Raw, the shadow of the giant ape flashed behind him, sending waves through the sky and the earth. This movie's supposed to be a super trick that can be unleashed in a desperate situation and can even be activated by overdrawing part of the potential. If it is used in a Super Saiyan state, this move has another name. Dragon Fist. Boom. There was no suspense. Goku punched Og instantly with all his strength without hesitation. With the terrifying aftermath, the entire castle began to collapse, and the entire planet seemed to be wailing. Among the ruins, Goku suddenly felt that Og was not dead. Not only that, Og actually went berserk after enduring the blow and started a crazy counterattack. Bang! Goku was blasted into the midair by Og's dying counterattack. The next moment, Og rushed from the ground like a comet. He was completely unrecognizable and had no weapons. He attacked him crazily like a wild beast. Even though Goku's full blow directly penetrated the left shoulder, and the entire arm was missing, and even the crazy beating heart was exposed, he still launched a crazy counterattack against Goku without fear of death. Bang! Bang bang bang. The sonic booms of the fierce battle were heard one after another. Goku fought with twice the Kaioken, but was suppressed and kept retreating. Not only that, this Og actually maintained this posture for more than 10 minutes, and the offensive did not weaken at all. Goku noticed that his physical strength was rapidly depleted, and his expression gradually became serious. It was not good to continue like this. That mysterious man could take away Og with an ability that he didn't even see clearly. He might be observing secretly at this moment, and he might take action at some point. He must make a quick decision. With this thought, Goku no longer held back. Kaioken, 3 times. Boom. The terrible energy surged like an explosion, suppressing Og. Under such fierce fighting, Og's whole body began to collapse, as if he could no longer bear it. Even so, Goku still had no intention of stopping. A round of crazy attacks disintegrated Og's resistance, and without hesitation, he blasted his head with a turtle-style kicking. Ding. Kill the Demon King Og, gain energy, and increase your ki by 33,000. Chapter 60 Return to Earth. Haha, standing in mid-air, maintaining the movements of the turtle-style kicking, Goku calmed down his breathing after a while. This battle was considered a rare hard battle for him. Especially Og's fearless attitude after his sudden enhancement really put a lot of pressure on him. If he hadn't learned Kaioken, he might have been in real trouble. However, the system reward was only Og's original combat power of 33,000, which made him a little dissatisfied. After all, Og's ability to fight back before death must have far exceeded this value. TSK. Broken system. The crisis was briefly resolved. Goku lowered his head and looked at the unrecognizable earth. From the ruins of the castle, Several figures dressed as scientists escaped. With a thought in his heart, Goku fell in front of several demon scientists who were helping each other to escape. All. The demons immediately fell to their knees, kowtowed and begged him for mercy. Goku frowned and asked directly, "Do you know Snake Princess? And how do you get out of here?" Looking at each other, a bald scientist raised his head and said cautiously, "Sir, do you want the universe spacecraft to leave this planet?" We can help you build the universe spacecraft." Goku frowned when he heard this, probably knowing that the other party had never heard of Snake Princess at this time. A white-haired figure walked out of the ruins. "So, you were sent here by Snake Lady? No wonder, you know." Goku looked at the other party and did not take action. She was the one who rescued Dog and caused him to undergo terrible changes. Judging from his appearance, he seemed to be a scientist as well. But it doesn't seem to have very strong combat effectiveness. The other party nodded, raised his hand to push the glasses on his face, and said with a smile, "Snake G is a special race that was once expelled from the demon clan by Dapper. It has the ability to communicate between the demon world, the human world and the underworld. However, you are not very powerful. Since you provoked. I probably know why you were sent here." Goku was a little unhappy with his attitude of having seen through everything. As he raised his hand, energy condensed in his palm. Goku said calmly, "I need to get to planet Azura now. How long will it take? Or is there any way to get me out of the demon world faster?" The surrounding demon scientists suddenly panicked. Only the white-haired woman frowned and seemed to be calculating. After a moment, she answered, "The fastest universe spaceship on the planet can reach Azura within a year." "But you talk too much nonsense." The energy in Goku's palm surged. Hearing the news, he was already a little angry. The other party also saw this. Although his face was still calm, cold sweat was shed, and he said the following, "But I can help you reach Azura within 2 months. If you have any conditions, just tell me. While I still have patience, I want to join your force." Goku looked at the other party, a little surprised. He didn't have any power, let alone the idea of forming a superpower in the demon world. It was too troublesome. He just wants to improve his abilities as much as possible and then live a stable life. In this world, only with enough strength can you gain enough stability, otherwise accidents may come at any time. Even the Shura Star was just used as a training room, and he had no intention of running it based on it. But now he needed to rely on the other party's strength, so he agreed without explaining too much. Just a few days later, with the help of a group of demon scientists, the white-haired demon woman actually transformed a universe spaceship. Goku set sail on the universe for the first time, but he did not expect that he would be in a world like the demon world. Looking at the outside world, it seems that it is always a dark space. Occasionally, there are some planets that emit purple, blue, red, or even black weird lights. It looks really weird. Is there no sun here? Goku couldn't help but frown. The spacecraft had been sailing for several days, but he didn't even see a star. "Those are the suns of the demon world." Mora came over. This was the name of the white-haired demon woman, and explained to Goku, "The stars in our demon world are divided into grades according to color, which are probably purple, blue, and red. Of course, there is also the most terrifying doomsday star. That is a dead place. That is enough to collapse a star field. You don't want to get close to that kind of place." "Thanks for the reminder." Goku turned to look at each other, and Mora took 2 glasses of unknown drinks from the hands of the demons on the side, and handed one over. Goku frowned slightly and took it. The demon food was not to his liking, but he still needed to eat. After all, he had to sail for 2 months. Mora took a sip first, and showed a smile full of knowledge. "I heard that the planet, where the Saiyans are located, should have been destroyed. So who are you, sir?" "You talk a bit too much." "Yes." Mora did not continue to ask, bowed her head slightly and retreated. Goku looked at the vast and strange starry sky outside, and for the first time he longed for home. Of course, there was also a faint excitement accompanied by the beating of his heart and the blood flowing to his body. This is due to the Saiyan's natural warlikeness and desire to explore. The more dangerous a place is, the more it can stimulate these wild factors hidden deep in the body. The tail behind him moved slightly and wrapped around his waist. 2 months later, Goku successfully arrived at Shura Planet. The moment he saw Mirror, he breathed a sigh of relief. He had indeed entered the demon world and returned successfully, instead of being in Snake Girl's belly. Sir, something happened at the gate of Demon Realm. I left the gate of Demon Realm to look for you, but, on the way to the gate of the demon world, Goku had already told Mora about the situation, but the other party didn't mind. Instead, he asked for a piece of land from Mirror, and seemed to plan to settle on the Shura Planet. When Goku heard Mirror's words at this time, an ominous premonition emerged. He had not forgotten the hidden danger of the magic cultivator. His face turned slightly as he asked, "What's the situation?" One of the demon cultivator's subordinates visited Shura Planet not long ago. It seems that he already knows about the gate to the demon world, and it is now on Earth. Damn it, the thing I was most worried about happened exactly when I left. How good is that demon's fighting ability? Stronger than Mirror, and he also has the ability to transform. He breathed a sigh of relief, but Goku still left the gate of the demon world directly and returned to the Earth. It was as if I had returned to the human world instantly from hell. The depressing and dark environment of the devil world was really uncomfortable. Goku's figure slowly floated into the air. After some perception, he didn't notice the more powerful demon's energy. When he was secretly surprised, he suddenly felt a familiar energy suddenly increase, and then quickly get weak. A cold light flashed in his eyes. I found it. A burst of energy rose into the sky, and Goku's figure turned into an arc, and flew straight into the distance. Chapter 61 Tamasis. Time goes back to a while ago. The demon cultivator named Tamasis entered the Earth through the gate of the demon world. At first, he did not wreak havoc, but began to purposefully search for the strong people on the Earth. Naturally, what he found at first was key. The strongest Piccolo. Gohan was there too. Tenjin fans, Krillin and others, who were practicing in the Saiyan temple, because of the news of the upcoming Saiyan attack, also sensed this evil energy, so they all rushed over after arriving at the scene. They joined the battle without saying a word, but the difference in strength was too big. Several people were beaten hard by the 2 demon men brought by Tamasis. In the end, Gohan suddenly broke out and killed one of them, while the other was solved with the combined efforts of everyone. Piccolo, on the other hand, always confronted Tamasis without taking any action. The moment he saw Gohan explode, Piccolo's eyes flashed with relief. Oh, this kid is a Saiyan? Hum hum hum. I didn't expect that there are still living Saiyans in the 7th universe. It's really rare. Tamasis's voice was like a mechanically synthesized neutral, which was extremely weird. The appearance also has a mechanical-like structure. Although it is human-shaped, it also has the characteristics of a beast, with a long tail and a rickety body shape, and the whole body is dark red. Snort. Piccolo stared at the other person, and took off his cloak. It's our turn now. Drink. There was a low and angry roar, and in an instant, terrible energy came out of the body, and the combat power instantly surged to its peak. Martial arts masters on the Earth usually restrain the ki that is inadvertently emitted from the body in order to save physical strength, and at the same time, they can better hide their clumsiness during battle and carry out longer high-intensity battles, although in a sense it is because the people on Earth are too weak, so they have to develop the use of every bit of power. This method is still the top combat technology even in the entire Dragon Ball universe. Applicable anytime. After Piccolo exploded, the terrifying power caused a large amount of gravel to float around, accompanied by subtle lightning. The aura around him was terrifying, much stronger than before. Apparently he practiced to a considerable extent during this time. No. Rush, let me clear some unnecessary obstacles first. Nap. Piccolo was shocked. Tamasis suddenly disappeared in front of him. He couldn't keep up. In shock, he hurriedly shouted to remind others, "Gohan, get out of the way." At the same time, he raised his hand and fired a Kigen wave, trying to predict Tamasis' movement trajectory and stop it. Boom, bang bang bang. However, nothing could be changed. Almost instantly, Saiyan and others who had just experienced a hard battle were severely injured. They lost their fighting ability in almost one blow and fell to the ground. The most seriously injured are Yamcha and Dumpling, and their energy has begun to dissipate. At the critical moment, Piccolo only saved Gohan and stood in front of Tamasis again. Uncle Clem, Gohan, calm down. Piccolo sweated coldly and stared at Tamasis. If Gohan ran out at this time, he might not be able to take care of him. But at this time, although Gohan was only fighting for the first time, the Saiyan blood in his body had gradually awakened, and he had fully adapted. There is nothing wrong with saying that Saiyans are a natural fighting race, but the Saiyans during King Vegeta's time had been completely misled and tamed by Frieza, equating fighting with cruelty. Invisibly, the real way to tap into the power of the Saiyans was blocked. Fighting is not seeking death, and being bellicose is not bloodthirsty. The difference between the two is too big. The so-called fighting race has completely turned into a group of beasts in the era of King Vegeta. Being stimulated at this moment, Gohan seemed to be losing his mind in anger. He actually jumped out from behind Piccolo, and then suddenly burst out a Kigen wave from his hands towards Tamasis. Magic. Flash, boom, Gohan. Everything happened too fast. Most of Piccolo's attention was on Tamasis, and he already had a premonition that something bad was going to happen. Boom. Boom boom, sure. Enough. Tamasis' figure flashed directly to Gohan's side, and a terrifying hand that looked like an alien claw swung out, hitting Gohan's neck. Piccolo's movement seemed to have slowed down. His turning around and reaching out had already shown his ultimate strength, but he was still a little slower than Tamasis. Gohan was belatedly aware of the crisis at this time, but he had no time to dodge. This is the result of lack of experience and rash action. After all, it is still too immature. Bang. Click, like a flash of lightning, Gohan closed his eyes tightly, not daring to open them. After a moment, but no pain came, Gohan opened his eyes, and a familiar figure stood in front of him. Bang. Goku grabbed Tamasis' paw, and the next moment, he bullied him and punched him until his eyes popped out, as if they were about to fall out, and the carapace-like material on the surface of his body shattered. A drop of blood fell on Goku's martial arts uniform and seeped into it. But the body of the demon was indeed strong, and even the back was twisted and bulged. Tamasis immediately abandoned his claws that were almost crushed by Goku, pulled away and retreated 100 meters away, looking at Goku in shock. What is this guy, Dad? Gohan's eyes trembled with excitement. Goku turned his head, smiled and touched Gohan's head. Gohan, you did well, Dad. Gohan hugged him uncontrollably. Goku also sighed a little and patted Gohan on the back. Only he knew how cruel it was to let a 5-year-old child go through this to grow up. At that time, he was still in his teens and had basic survival abilities before he started to practice with Kame Immortal, and then he grew up step by step. It can only be said that Gohan Zero was not good, but he is destined to grow up. But before that, he needs to protect him from the wind and rain. Goku. Goku calmed down slightly, glanced in the direction of Krillin, and found that he was holding a bag. He put Gohan down and walked over. After taking it, he found 2 fairy beans. He looked at the other people and frowned slightly. Dad, Dumplings and Uncle Yamcha. He patted Gohan's head and said with a smile, feel carefully, they still have a little breath. You can feel it. As Goku spoke, he fed half a fairy bean to Krillin. Krillin just couldn't stand up at this time, but he could barely chew it. Saiyan fan fainted. Then Goku crushed half a fairy bean into powder and fed it to Dumpling and Yamcha respectively, letting the 2 breathe their last breath. Being alive is naturally better than being dead. Saiyan fan gave the last half of the fairy bean to Gohan and asked him to save it. Then Goku stood up and looked at Tamasis, who was always looking at him in surprise, and did not make a sneak attack. It's not that he doesn't want to, but that he doesn't dare. Goku may seem careless, but in fact his attention is always focused on him. As long as he dares to make a sneak attack, he will face a thunderous strike. However, Tamasis also calmed down at this moment, as if he was not injured, and his eyes lit up when he saw the effect of the fairy beans. This is really good stuff. Master Demon Cultivator will definitely like it. Tamasis immediately said, boy, how about giving me more of what you just gave me, and I won't kill you? Hearing this, Goku shook the bag in his hand, threw it over, and said with a smile, it's too late. You, Tamasis, was angry. Goku spoke first at this time. His tone was cold, and his eyes seemed to freeze everything around him. Whatever you say now, I will kill you. Huh. Damn it. You force me to do this. Feel the fear. Tamasis felt threatened, and his whole body began to change, as if he was shedding his shell. Red light gradually emitted from his original body, and the outer shell cracked, exposing parts of it. Boom. The terrifying aura actually began to affect the celestial phenomena. For a time, the clouds were thick, the Saiyan mountains thundered, and a terrible storm swept across. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62. Combat power increases again. Clint and the others who had just woken up were extremely shocked, and their bodies were trembling. Gang, wasn't it just full strength? What on earth is this monster? HMPH. Not to mention full strength, it's not even the tip of the iceberg. Damn it. Piccolo was also unwilling at this time, but looking at the monster in front of him, he sweated more. He glanced at Goku, who was still calm, and Gohan, who was not too shocked. He frowned and said, hey, Son Goku, you sure? If not, take action quickly. No. Rush. Goku's eyes were shining, waiting for the opponent to transform. These demons were interesting, coming to give him fighting power. Well done. The more, the better. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to fight against the demonic cultivators. Although he had learned Kaioken, the explosive technique was somewhat lacking in confidence. Only one's own true strength is the most reliable. Goku always believes in this transformation is not the right way after all. The shortcomings of high consumption and short battery life are enough to be fatal. So his attitude towards Kaioken and even the so-called Super Saiyan transformation is that it can be used as a trump card, but it cannot be relied on too much. Improving one's own strength is the key, and only by improving your own strength can you get greater benefits after transforming. Simply increasing the strength of transformation is somewhat putting the cart before the horse. Gohan turned to look at everyone, and then at Goku. He wanted to say that he actually didn't feel too much pressure, but at this time, another doubt was what he wanted to ask the most. Didn't Uncle Clint say that his father was a martial artist? Why did he feel scarier than Uncle Piccolo when he was angry? Tamathis's transformation was completed, and he actually broke away from his original animal form and became closer to a human form. Not only that, even his claws were repaired and changed into an almost sharp-edged form, which I have to say is a bit handsome. Tamasis, who had completed his transformation, was taller but also more slender. He raised an arm and pointed at Goku. Saiyan, come on, I will let you feel what hell is. Boom boom boom. Really? Goku's energy exploded at this moment. In an instant, a look of shock appeared on Tamasis's face after completing his transformation. Before he could react, Goku had already come closer and punched out point bang, poo. With one blow, Tamasis spurted blood, and he hurriedly retreated in shock. But this time Goku had no intention of letting him go. How could the duck he got let you fly? Chasing him into the air, a fierce battle broke out. This Tamathis really has something, and after the transformation, its combat power has reached a conservative 20,000 plus. The demon cultivator didn't know where he found these guys, although it is not clear whether the demon world is the same as the normal universe. This kind of monster level combat power that can easily destroy an ordinary planet is definitely not that easy to find. I don't know how many living planets it takes to give birth to one. Gilu, okay, so strong. Has this guy Goku practiced to this extent? Okay, I'll win for sure. Krillin and others, who had just experienced despair, were very excited at this time. Looking at the fierce battle in the sky, Goku clearly had the absolute upper hand. What they didn't know was that Goku was still fighting at 20 times gravity, otherwise it would have been over. Tamasis was suddenly kicked off the double blades on his arms by Goku's powerful kick. In shock, his whole body was covered in blood, but his eyes exuded a strange light. Boom boom boom, bang, bang bang bang. The fierce fight continued, and as time passed, Goku noticed something was wrong. Although he could still suppress Tamasis, for some reason, he gradually felt the pressure from Tamasis. This shouldn't be the case. Is Tamasis ki increasing? With this doubt, Goku decided to fight quickly. After knocking Tamasis high into the air with one blow, he made the starting posture of turtle-style Kigen with both hands, energy gathering. Piccolo noticed the change in Goku. After all, as an opponent, he was probably most concerned about all Goku's abilities and methods. It's Goku's turtle-style Kigen. That monster is dead. Krillin and others were excited, thinking that the battle was coming to an end. After all, the turtle style of Kigen might not be the strongest, but it was definitely Goku's signature trick. But the energy quickly climbed to its limit, and Goku pushed it out with both hands. No! Piccolo suddenly exclaimed, startling the others, and Goku also felt particularly weird at this time. This feeling does not come from the perception of ki, but from intuition. When the full blow of this move fell on Tamasis, he had already noticed that this move could not kill the opponent. Boom. White light illuminated the heaven and earth, and terrifying energy blasted away the clouds in the sky. Boom, boom, boom. It's really awesome. It's stronger than that guy in Og whose muscles grow to his brain, but I'm the strongest being under Lord Demon Cultivator. Boom. Tamasis's figure actually received this hair turtle skull Kigen without any damage. Immediately after the explosion, Tamasis rushed towards Goku instantly. This time it was completely different from before. His power actually suppressed Goku, and he began to retreat. Stronger than Og? Goku frowned, not sure whether what the other party said was true or false. But he is sure of one thing, that is, there must be something weird about Tamasis. His combat power soared to 62,000 after defeating Og. Even if the opponent is stronger than Og, there is no reason to be so strong. Moreover, Goku clearly felt that he could definitely crush Tamasis before, but as time went by, he gradually became unable to do so. But being in the middle of the battle, Goku couldn't find the clues for a while. Old son, your anger is weakening. Don't waste time. Get rid of him quickly. At this moment, Piccolo's voice came from the ground. What did you say, Klin? And others were shocked, and then they sensed it carefully. Even when they were watching the battle outside, they did not notice this change. The reason is that the difference in strength is too big, and they have no way of detecting this difference. Only Piccolo's sense of energy and strength have reached a certain level, and he has been watching the whole battle from the sidelines, so he can notice it. Real. Oops. Goku is in danger. Yamcha and others were also frightened and secretly anxious, but they could only watch unwillingly, and could not help at all. At this time, Tamasis had suppressed Goku, and was very proud. He laughed wildly and said, GGG. That's right, my ability can weaken your combat effectiveness through blood. Idiot. You shouldn't touch my blood. The inside, Tamasis suddenly broke out, and the fist and kick attacks continued like a storm. The suppressed Goku once retreated to the ground. But halfway back, Goku suddenly stopped, his eyes shining. Really, Tamasis abilities are indeed tricky, but similar to Naok, they are abilities that are difficult to crack without leaking information. As expected, the villain died because he talked too much. The next moment, a red light suddenly appeared around Goku, and lightning suddenly started. Whoosh, he punched out with lightning speed, directly blasting through Tamasis' body, causing blood to fly. PFFD. How did you? In Tamasis' unbelievable eyes, a burst of energy detonated directly from his body, instantly blasting him to pieces. Kaioken. 2 times. Goku's combat power instantly exceeded the 100,000 mark, reaching 124,000. It seems that a certain critical value has been exceeded, and Tamasis' ability has lost its effect, and he died suddenly. Chapter 63. Am I redundant? Ding. Kill the demon Tamasis, gain energy, and increase your ki by 21,000. Counting. the 33,000 brought by Og. Goku's combat power directly exceeded the 80,000 mark, reaching the level of 83,000. This is basic combat power, not obtained by increasing Kaioken. What's even more frightening is that it is not even obtained by releasing potential point with a potential value of 9 points. As long as he wants to, his combat effectiveness can be increased by 9 times in a short time. It's almost time. Goku feels that he is getting closer and closer to the standard of transforming into a Super Saiyan, and he is in a good mood. Sure enough, the Demon Realm is definitely the most suitable training room for me. As long as I come here a few more times, why worry about not being able to transform into a Super Saiyan? Or even further transformation. After a while, Goku calmed down the excitement in his heart. Sure enough, fighting was the fastest way to improve his strength, and the Saiyan blood in his body boiled again. Dad. Goku landed on the ground, patted little Gohan's head, and smiled. At this time, he also remembered an important thing, that is, the Great Elder of Namek. He has a special ability that can guide and develop potential. He just doesn't know whether to directly stimulate the potential in the target's body or to tap deeper potential, but judging from the situation, it should be the latter after all. Even Krillin can directly increase his combat power to a higher level and become the strongest person on Earth. Obviously, it is not as simple as just stimulating his potential point, so it's necessary to go there. Even if you can't dig out too much, it will definitely be helpful. Maybe your last bit of potential will depend on him. Thinking of something, Goku took out a golden peach from the only universal capsule he had with him and handed it to Gohan. This is. Gohan looked curious. Piccolo's face changed slightly. After all, he was born with another side. He could feel the unique sacred breath of gods from above. He knew that this thing was not simple, but he didn't say anything. It's a pity that there aren't many specialties from the underworld. Eat them quickly. What? Goku, you went to the underworld to bring specialties and you only brought a fruit. I thought you would bring something else. That's it. Krillin and Yamcha complained a little. After all, they were old friends. Goku didn't say anything. After thinking about it, he smiled and said, after you die, you can go to the KO to practice. You will gain something. Well, several people looked at each other. Although it was a good thing, something didn't sound right. So they just want us to die. It's better not to go. After Gohan ate the golden apple, his energy obviously improved, but the only ones who noticed at the scene were Piccolo and Goku, who nodded secretly. Originally, Gohan should have a combat power of 800, but now it has exceeded 1500, directly surpassing Piccolo's normal level before he exploded. If you continue to practice steadily, you might be able to surpass Piccolo before long. This is only the result of half a year of practice. If it is not wasted in the future, the potential will only be greater. Gohan. In the distance, the hum of aircraft engines and propellers came, and then she jumped out of the plane in desperation. An altitude of 100 meters was naturally no problem for her. However, there had just been a battle here, and there were rubble everywhere. When she landed, his feet stumbled, and he almost fell. Enduring the severe pain, he ran over and hugged Gohan. Mom. After half a year, Gohan has matured a lot, but traces of a lot of hardship can be seen on his body, which makes she feel heartbroken. Bulma, came Senin and others also got off the plane. Seeing that everyone was still alive, Bulma walked up to Goku and smiled. How are you doing in the underworld? I was scared when I heard what the fortune teller said. I jumped, but luckily you came back. Well, there's no problem. It's just that we took a long detour and wasted a lot of time. Bulma's head tilted slightly, a little confused, not knowing what he meant. Goku explained what happened. He didn't expect to go directly from the underworld to the demon world. If he wasn't careful, he would be in trouble. If he didn't get back in time. The worst case scenario is that everyone dies. Then he has to go to Namek in advance to find Palunga. Vegeta will also come to Earth, and he doesn't know what he will become in the end. Devil World. What place is that? It sounds like it should be a very dangerous place. The demon you just saw is from the demon world, a demon warrior under the command of a demon named Marxiu. Goku explained. Although he didn't want to put pressure on others, Sooner or later he would face the demonic cultivator. It's just a matter of time. So, that person is also a demon. At this time, Bulma noticed Mirror on a boulder in the distance, and she followed him. Under Goku's gaze, Mirror nodded, turned and left, returning to the demon world. The training of Saiyan Fan and others was not over yet, so they left the scene early and returned to Saiyan Temple to complete the remaining training. Goku looked at the little Gohan who was held in Shishi's arms and felt a little troubled. He planned to let Gohan has completed Piccolo's 1-year training point, but now it might not be that easy to get Shishi to let Gohan practice. Half an hour later, we were on Baozi Mountain. No, sure enough, when Shishi learned that Goku wanted Gohan to continue practicing, his reaction was quite fierce, and he did not agree at all. Bulma wanted to help and said something, but Goku stopped him. Instead, he looked at Gohan who was sitting in the corner. Gohan, do you want to practice with Piccolo? Don't worry, it's okay if you don't want to go. Neither father nor mother will ask you to do anything, Gohan. Even though he said this, Shishi still showed a stern expression and crossed his arms, while Goku smiled bitterly. Gohan lowered his head and said timidly, I want to practice with Uncle Piccolo. Huh. Shishi's eyes seemed to be filled with fire, and Gohan was so frightened that he could not speak. Goku frowned a little when he saw this. Although this was a sign of Shishi's love for Gohan, this level was already a bit doting. It's not okay to go on like this. Even if he can unleash his potential, Gohan will be wasted sooner or later in the future. Bulma couldn't stand it anymore, and when he was about to say something, Goku thought for a moment, took out a bouquet of flowers from behind, and gave it to Shishi. Shishi, Goku, you. Shishi was a little surprised, her face turned red, and she immediately forgot about Gohan. After all, he is 1 year younger than Goku, and has never experienced the feeling of love. He has directly transformed from a girl to a woman. Shishi has never seen such a battle. Well, in fact, Goku is indeed a stubborn person and doesn't know how to be romantic. Therefore, Shishi focused more on Gohan and even ignored him as her husband. It doesn't matter, just make up for it. Then he gave Bulma a bouquet of the same flowers. Bulma happily accepted it. Then he exchanged glances with Goku and suggested, by the way, Goku, Shishi, we haven't been out as a family for a long time. Right? Why don't we go? How about taking a trip? I know a resort is very nice. How about a change of mood? My sister Tacy invited us to visit her place before traveling. Shishi was a little excited, but he glanced at Gohan hesitantly. Goku knew something was going on when he saw this, and hurriedly hugged Shishi and said, that's it, let's go buy some travel things first. Although Bulma must have been prepared a long time ago, it would take a little time. Hey? Goku, but Gohan hasn't eaten yet. No problem. By the way, Bulma, are you ready for the swimsuit you mentioned last time? No problem. Everything is ready. Bulma blinked, indicating that everything was okay. Shishi's face turned even redder, and he was taken away half-heartedly. Goku, you, Gohan, who stayed at home, said. Gohan, who had just experienced his first battle in his life, felt his stomach growling with hunger. When he turned around and found that his parents had gone, he was stunned. So I'm redundant in this family, right? Snort. At this moment, a figure wearing a cloak appeared at the door, and Gohan was immediately delighted. Uncle Piccolo. The 2 wild fruits rolled in front of Gohan. Piccolo turned around and tugged on his cloak and said, don't waste time. Your training is not over yet. I will not show mercy for your father's sake. Gohan grabbed the wild fruit in front of him and followed him while eating. Although Piccolo's guidance was a bit rough, it was very successful. Gohan was able to survive in the wild very well. Although it was a bit rough, it was able to guide Gohan's potential very well. Give him a solid foundation. At the same time, Goku on the other side started traveling around the world with his 2 wives. Chapter 64 Kalinta's Challenger. Beaches, villas, yachts, food. Shishi's life was too monotonous, so he devoted all his attention to Gohan, to the point of doting on him. In comparison, Bulma's life was much more colorful. Goku didn't have to do anything during the whole process, he just followed him everywhere. Goku gave the remaining golden apple to the 2 of them, and ate it as fruit. Bulma was a little surprised and felt that his skin and spirit had improved a lot. It can jump dozens of meters with just one jump point. In fact, her combat power was instantly increased to 80, almost stronger than most of the so-called martial arts masters on the earth today. She has also been promoted to 230. After all, he has some foundation. The three of them drove a yacht to fish in the middle of the sea, went to the virgin forest to enjoy some adventure, and finally went to the 5-element mountain to visit Sun Wukong, visited Bulma's sister's house, and finally came to Kalinta. Really, I can't stand it anymore. Halfway up the Kalan Tower, Bulma was hanging in a mountaineering outfit. His whole body was soaked with sweat, and his thin shirt clung to his body, outlining the perfect curves. He wanted to get the universal capsule and release it from the plane to fly up, but he was afraid it would fall if he released it. When he thought of this, Bulma immediately shouted with a grimace, "Goku!" Goku flew down from above, looked at Bulma and said amusedly, "What's wrong? Didn't you say this is not difficult and you can climb up easily?" It turned out that Bulma became drifting after gaining some strength and wanted to try if he could challenge climbing Kalan Tower. Well, obviously the challenge failed. Bulma rolled her eyes and stretched out her hands. Goku stepped forward and hugged her, flying upwards. Arriving at Kalan Tower, Bulma took a deep breath and complained, "Really, I will have to build an elevator at Kalan Tower in the future. It's really troublesome." The cat fairy who was licking his paws was stunned for a moment, and a drop of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Meow. I automatically thought about installing an elevator next to my Kalan Tower, and then it turned into a tourist attraction. It was crowded with people, and I suddenly started to sweat even more. At this time, there were still a few people on the Kalan Tower. Goku glanced at a few familiar faces, and Yupa came over and said, "Hello, Mr. Goku." Goku nodded and smiled. Yupa was the guardian of the tribe under Kalan Tower and the guardian of Kalan Tower, although he was not recognized by the Cat Immortal or the God Point, but their tribe still regards Kalinta as a holy place. Because there is no one to guide him, he is still stronger than ordinary people, but in fact he is still quite talented. Yupa's father can block bullets with his body, which is obvious, at least among the people on Earth. He is definitely not weak. In addition, Goku also saw, for example, King Gappa, Nanmu, and Inosaur. Actually he forgot their names, whom he had met at the world's #1 martial arts association. All these people with some ability came here. But not many more challengers are still struggling under the Kalan Tower, or have given up early. After Goku suggested that the gods opened the Kalan Tower and the Celestial Temple, the existence here is no longer a legend in the martial arts world, at least not for martial arts practitioners with a certain background. When these people have achieved some success in strength, they will start spreading the news after returning, spreading the legend of Kalinta, and attracting more people to embark on martial arts practice and come to challenge. With such a virtuous cycle, martial arts will naturally not decline. Well, this guy's really perseverant. It's a pity that he's a fool. On the lower floor of Kalan Tower, the Cat Immortal looked at the water jars in front of him and shook his head. Goku and his two beauties came over. Hearing this, he stepped forward with some doubts and looked at the water vat. I found that this was looking at the challenger below Kalan Tower. At this time, a group of people simply camped below, or were practicing hard in their own way, waiting for the challenge. There are even many houses that have been built, indicating that people are planning to settle here for a long time. If things continue like this, it is estimated that a village and town will really rise under Kalan Tower before long, and then a city. But at this moment, the Cat Immortal was talking about a guy on the Kalan Tower. A big man with an afro climbed into the middle of the Kalan Tower and fell asleep from exhaustion. That's right, just fell asleep. This guy's also a genius. He even used a rope to hang himself in the middle of the Kalan Tower. He fell asleep when he was tired and climbed again when he woke up. It can only be said that the idea is indeed good. After all, Kalan Tower does not stipulate that you have to climb up at one time, but this somewhat tricky method obviously makes the Cat Immortal very embarrassed. He was struggling with how to give advice after this guy came up. Originally, others who relied on strength had some basic skills, and he would definitely gain something with his guidance. But if such a guy with little foundation and a good brain came up, he wouldn't know how to give advice. Really, I hope I won't be like that guy 300 years ago. 300 years ago. Bulma and Shishi were curious. Goku reacted and said with a smile, Cat Senin, are you talking about Teacher Wushan? That's him, that guy's really, when the cat immortal recalled that time, he couldn't help but sweat more on his forehead. It was so unbearable to look back. At that time, Turtle Immortal's strength was average, but he managed to climb up, which was commendable for his courage. Cat Immortal didn't hesitate to give him guidance. But what happened next? When Turtle Immortal left, he just took whatever he saw and almost moved Cat Immortal away. Forget about somersault clouds, elixirs, and fairy beans. The key is that he even took away the pillars leading to the Temple of Heaven. Yes, the wish-fulfilling stick. From then on, Cat Immortal never wanted to see Turtle Immortal again. Seeing that another Turtle Immortal might be coming up, the Cat Immortal became a little panicked. Goku looked at the awakened Afro thoughtfully. This was probably his future in-laws, the hero of the earth, Satan. Although this guy is not very lovable, his brain is indeed useful. Do you think he is stupid? Just kidding. How many ordinary people on earth can understand what Goku and others are capable of in the later stage? And what about Satan? In just one day, he not only fully understood the gap, but also adapted to it, and even integrated into it, which helped a lot. With this ability alone, few ordinary people on earth can do it well. Without paying too much attention, Goku looked at Shishi and Bulma. Let's go. Shishi and Bulma smiled. This trip lasted about half a year, and we went to all the places we should go. Shishi's temper also improved significantly, and Goku made up for the lack of relationship development between the two. Not only that, maybe the potential of the golden apple has not been fully unleashed, and in addition to trying to challenge Kalinta, Shishi's combat power has increased to 350 in half a year, which is already considered an absolutely high combat power among earthlings on the same level as Kame. Senin. Even Bulma has a combat power of 150, but it is a pity that she has no foundation and perseverance, otherwise she would actually be able to climb the Kalan Tower. Chapter 65 3 Demonic Stars. Baozi Mountain. Goku's home. The trip was over. Goku first sent Shishi and Bulma back to Baozi Mountain, and then went to pick up Gohan. As a parting gift, Piccolo gave Gohan a new suit of clothes. I have to say that Piccolo's ability to use various magical abilities is very convenient. It can also be seen that he is indeed kind to Gohan, but he still looks at Goku with hostility. I don't bother to care about him. After he understands his life experience or merges with the gods, he won't be like this now. The current Piccolo has not yet completed its ultimate evolution. Gohan, have you lost weight due to hunger? Really, your father has gone too far. He actually asked you to practice with that big devil Piccolo. My Uncle Piccolo is very good to me. Okay, he is. Forget it. Mom has prepared the meal you like. Eat first. Shishi is still the same, but her mood has become much more stable. After all, she has been apart for too long, and she has also seen the changes in Gohan. Although she felt distressed after suffering some hardships, Gohan had indeed grown up, and with Goku's company this year, she no longer struggled. In the next few days, the family enjoyed themselves happily. Demon World. Shura star in a castle-like research institute. Mora put on a research uniform and handed a device to Goku in front of him. After taking it, he put the bottle of solvent that exuded a faint green glow in front of his eyes and asked, "Is this it?" Mora nodded and said directly, "The blood of Tamasis can indeed weaken the target's energy, so I extracted the special factors and made this, which can instantly weaken the target's strength. But don't be too happy, sir. The effect on the existence of ordinary demon kings is negligible. That means the combat power of 100,000 cannot be weakened, right?" "That's right." Mora nodded, and Goku didn't care. This was what he expected. He used 2x Kaioken to kill Tamasis instantly. In the final analysis, these abilities are just a trail after all, and they are vulnerable to absolute strength. Immediately, Goku found Mirror and asked for information about the magic cultivator. "Sir, the demon cultivator is not in Yanemo Star, but one of the 3 demon stars under his command, and the demon dragon is guarding it." "What is the strength of the demon dragon? Is it the same as Tamasis?" Goku asked point whether it was Og or Synopsis that we met before. They were no longer weak in strength, and they already had the ability to destroy planets, so Goku subconsciously regarded the two as one of the so-called three demon stars, but Mira's answer surprised him. Mira lowered her head slightly and said, no, Og and Synopsis were both conquered by the demon dragon. The three demon stars under Mark Zu's command were the demon king Dapu. The soldiers under his command, who are loyal to him, are very strong. Oh, this is interesting. I thought it was just a character with a combat power of 20,000 to 30,000, but I didn't expect it to be stronger. I'm afraid this demon cultivator's strength is not as simple as it appears. The combat power of 80,000 is probably just the level before the transformation point. After thinking for a while, Goku felt that he was not far away from meeting Frieza. He must go to Namek, and he must go to Namek before the life of the great elder of Namek ends. From the moment Raditz landed on Earth, Goku knew that sooner or later he would face Frieza. It was just a matter of time point. Although he has a plan, Goku is not very sure that he can fight Frieza at this time, and he is still far away from his goal. Before that, he must improve his strength as much as possible. Prepare the universe spaceship. I'm going to the Yama planet. Yes, sir. Mira hesitated for a moment and then turned and left. In her opinion, provoking the demonic cultivator was unwise, but in a second thought, she realized that it was no longer up to them to decide, but that the demonic cultivator had already been provoked. Moreover, Star is not far from Yanemo Star. I'm afraid that the reason why Moxiu did not come in person is simply because he did not notice the variable Goku. Goku boarded the universe spacecraft and headed all the way to Yanemo planet point at the same time. In the human world, in the universe outside the Earth, two spherical universe spaceships were approaching rapidly, approaching the direction of the Earth. It only took 2 days for the universe spacecraft studied by Imura to arrive at the Yama star from the Shura star. After Goku landed, he discovered that there were a large number of powerful demons key on the planet. He was surprised for a moment and guessed that these should be demons brought by demon cultivators. Regardless, it can be regarded as an unexpected surprise. As long as the demons on this planet are eliminated, his strength will at least be improved a lot. However, he did not neglect the most important target this time, the three magic stars and the magic dragon. Boom. Sweeping all the way, Goku directly killed the demon warriors along the way. If he was lucky or escaped quickly, he escaped. Goku didn't bother to chase these small fish and shrimps, and went straight to the place where the demon dragon was. But Goku was very surprised by the increased combat effectiveness along the way. Ding. Kill the demon warriors, gain energy, and increase your ki by 140. Ding. Kill the evil starman, gain energy, and increase your ki by 40. Ding. Defeat the ancestral demon stars, gain energy, and increase your ki by 3200. A series of reminders cheered up Goku point as the combat power soared. Goku's combat power was directly increased by more than 7,000 points, and his combat power exceeded the 90,000 mark. Host, Son Goku Bloodline, Saiyan, lower level warrior, age 22 ki, combat power, 90,000, 9/10, superpower, gravity control, 20 times gravity. The combat power of 90,000 is still far from his goal of 300,000. But at least the gap can be seen, and the realization is not far away. He gradually expected the strength of the demonic dragon, and as he approached the target, a terrifying aura gradually spread, and he seemed to be aware of the arrival of the uninvited guest. Raw. Suddenly, a roar like a dragon from hell tore open the atmosphere of Yamastar, sweeping in like a huge wave. Mira followed behind Goku. Her face turned pale, and she knelt down uncontrollably. Not only her, but countless demons and the entire Yanemo star were prostrate on the ground at this moment, trembling. On the universe spacecraft, Mora looked at the numbers that were constantly beating in front of her, with an inexplicable look in her eyes. At the same time, another picture was facing Goku's back, with a string of numbers also beating on it. Lord Mora, should we take the spaceship out? Otherwise it may be damaged. The surrounding demon scientists panicked and wanted to run away. In advance. Mora just glanced at it, raised her hand to kill the demon scientist, and then said with a cold look, "Trash, throw it out." The Other demon scientists immediately did not dare to say a word and could only carry the body and leave point at this time. Mora was looking at the 2 rows of numbers in front of her, and finally her eyes fell on Goku's back. There was a trace of excitement and luster in her eyes. She narrowed her eyes, licked the corners of her mouth, and murmured to herself, "Come on, let me see your true strength." As time went by, the energy coming from the end of Yanamo Star stopped rising, and the number in front of Mora finally settled on 165,000. 165,000. This is one of the 3 demon stars, the true strength of the demon dragon. Chapter 66 Triple Kaioken. Goku never expected that the demon warriors under the command of the demon cultivator would have a terrifying combat strength of 160,000. This is no less powerful than Frieza's ace, the Jinyu Force. There are also 2 other people who don't know how strong they are. Taken together, this demon cultivator even surpasses Frieza, the self-proclaimed emperor of the universe in terms of his subordinates' background alone. Perhaps this does not represent the demon cultivator's own strength, but it can also indirectly prove its terror point. Boom. A nearly exploding sound barrier turned into an impact and spread, and a huge thing appeared in the air. It was a half-dragon. Its terrifying posture was like a mountain, and its aura was even more terrifying, like an abyss or a prison, unfathomable. A pair of dark, scarlet pupils stared down, looking at Goku, with no intention of communicating, and the next moment he directly took action. The wings behind him flapped, detonating the atmosphere, and he appeared in front of Goku in an instant, trespassing. To Yan Demon Star. Death. Boom. Fever and fighting spirit appeared in Goku's eyes, and a red light suddenly appeared. 2x Kaioken. Open. Before the collision with the demon dragon, mirror behind him had already exploded into the distance, but even so, a white light mixed with monstrous blood light exploded in the center of the collision. Just like a drop of water dropped into hot oil, the entire Yan Demon Star was here trembling under one blow, like a heavy hammer hitting the surface of an egg. The earth cracked, and the sky was full of firelight from the cracks in the earth, reflecting the whole planet like a doomsday scene. One blow almost destroyed the entire Yanamo Star. You must know that as demon planets, that are equivalent to Shura Star, both planets are not barren death stars, but life planets, that can breed thousands of beings with combat power, and their quality is no less than that of the Earth. Even so, this blow still shook the foundation of the entire Yan Demon Star. TSK. Goku appeared in the air in a flash, and just as a red light that maintained Kaioken dissipated, a huge shadow suddenly appeared behind him, swept past him, and blasted him away. With a flash of red light on his body, Goku immediately stopped and struck back in an instant. Bang. A blow with a combat power of 180,000 actually only caused the demon dragon's head to tilt to one side. Bloodthirsty scarlet bloomed from its pupils, and a lone hoarse roar came again. What a strong body. Bang. Bang bang bang. The two fell into a fierce fight. During the process, Goku became more and more frightened. This dragon's body was stronger than the Ogontamethus he had faced before, especially the scales on the surface of the body are like the most terrifying metal in the universe. When Goku's fist falls on it, it will not only withstand part of the rebound, but also a large part of the force will be dissolved by the tough flesh and blood. Very uncomfortable. Under the violent attack, Goku could feel that the demon dragon didn't have any fancy talents or abilities, he just relied on his body to fight him head on, a veritable monster. In the universe spacecraft, Mirror returned here and saw Mora standing in front of the screen, observing the changes on the battlefield with excitement. Saiyans are such a magical race, and the demon dragon comes from what is known as the most powerful force in the demon world. The ancestral demon stars are the best among them. Interesting, really interesting. As he spoke, his hands were operating on the operating table in front of him, and his hands turned into after images. Soon, a large amount of data densely appeared on the screen, which was all the data of the two people who were fighting fiercely on the field, including but not limited to combat effectiveness. The combat power can still be unleashed. Is this the talent of the Saiyans? A fighting race that never lets people see its limits. Hahaha. Mora seemed to have seen something incredible, and her body trembled slightly with excitement. Mirror looked at this scene, and did not approach, but turned and left. On Yanamo Star, The fierce fighting continues. Boom. The magic dragon's strike was earth-shattering, knocking Goku directly to the ground. In an instant, the entire land was penetrated, collapsed, and the mountains overturned. But the next moment, a dazzling blue light condensed from the ruins. With a bit of anger and fighting intent in Goku's eyes, he pushed out with both hands Super Turtle Style Kicking. The energy of Turtle Style Kicking is already very large, but it is actually a very stable Kicking wave. The advantage is that it can control the size of the ki, but the disadvantage is that it is not fast enough, and it lacks some points as a secret level sure kill point. But in Goku's hands, this move can be as domineering and fast as the demon moves. This is the Super Turtle Style Kicking wave. Boom! A straight beam of energy instantly pierced the sky. When the demon dragon saw this, a black mist-like energy surged around its body, finally converging on its right paw, and then swung it out like a whip, colliding hard with the Super Turtle Style Kicking. Drink. Goku started to exert his strength. He didn't believe that the opponent could still catch this move. However, the demon dragon also used all his strength at this moment, and his energy actually had a tendency to rise again. As Goku's energy increases, the volume of energy accumulated in front of the demon dragon has exceeded his size, and is about to explode. At the last moment, the demon dragon's eyes opened angrily, and suddenly its claws emitted a terrifying black light. And it suddenly hugged the energy in front of it. Raw. In an instant, the energy of the Super Turtle Skull Kicking was completely changed in direction and shot towards the sky of Yanemo Star. In the always dark sky of the demon world, it seemed as if a white scorching sun had risen, stinging the eyes of all the demons. A loud rumbling sound was heard, which actually shook the entire planet of Yama. Lava erupts. Ha. Ha. Goku maintained the posture of activating the Turtle Style Kicking with both hands and frowned. He didn't expect that he didn't kill the dragon in this way. The demon dragon was also panting at this moment. As the leader of the 3 demon stars, he looked at Goku with a little surprise and fear in his eyes. That tale, is it a Saiyan? But how could Saiyans reach this point? And this is the demon world, although it is not obvious, just as the power of demons will be weakened after entering the human world. The same is true for humans entering the demon world. Goku has never noticed it, because he has maintained his own gravity from beginning to end. This subtle suppression is not obvious to him. In addition, most of the opponents who are fighting against him are stronger than him, so he is suppressed. Just treated as normal. Only the demon dragon. The strength of this demon monster made him feel great pressure. Should I use 3x Kaioken? After a slight hesitation, Goku made up his mind and started. When the fight reached this point, he had no reason to retreat, let alone lose. Red flames rose from his feet, then quickly spread all over his body and spread out to the surroundings. His hair was blown up by the terrifying aura, and his expression became a bit more solemn at this moment. Triple Kaioken. Open. Combat strength soared to 270,000. This is already the ultimate combat power he can achieve under normal circumstances. Kaioken's continued increase in multipliers will not increase his combat power that much. It will only accelerate the loss of his physical strength and even overdraw his potential point. So the winner must be determined at this stage. Chapter 67. Vegeta arrives on Earth. Raw. The demon dragon was stunned for a moment, staring at the sudden burst of Goku with wide eyes. In the next moment, Goku's figure had teleported in front of him and punched him. Bang. Pooh. The dragon was injured for the first time, spitting out a mouthful of blue blood and almost falling out of its eyeballs. In panic, it quickly put on a defensive posture, with both claws in front of it. However, what greeted him was Goku's violent kicks, sweeps, knees, and elbows. Goku turned his body into the most terrifying weapon and attacked the demon dragon crazily. When the battle reached this point, his physical strength was also very high, so he had to fight quickly. The most important thing is that he didn't bring any fairy beans with him this time. I came to Yanmarxing on a temporary basis. I learned that the demon cultivator was not here, so I planned to come and pick up the slack. Naturally, I didn't have much preparation time. Bang 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 bang. Circles of airwaves swept and spread from the center of the fierce battle, and the explosive energy continued to squeeze the blasting air. Raw. Poof. Saiyan. Wait. The demon dragon seems to want to say something, but Goku will not listen. He already feels that his physical strength is constantly approaching the critical value. Because of the existence of potential value, the closer his physical strength is to the limit, the faster he will recover. This is an added benefit of high potential point. But if he continues to increase the Kaioken multiplier at this time, he may directly unleash his potential. There will be no place for him to cry by then, so he must race against time to kill the dragon before his energy is exhausted. At this moment, the demon dragon suffered heavy blows all over his body. He was so aggrieved that he might really be beaten to death here, so he panicked and wanted to talk to Goku. He has never been in the habit of communicating with weak people. Even when the demon cultivator found him, he attacked first and then directly defeated him. If you want to communicate with him, you have to fight him first. Only by surviving can you be qualified to talk to him. But at this moment, Goku was already murderous towards him, which completely panicked the dragon. Bang. In the final blow, Goku punched the demon dragon's chest and entered it. The demon dragon's huge body fell from the air, and its eyes lost all energy, as if it had lost consciousness. Just when Goku felt his energy begin to drain away rapidly, and thought it was over, the dragon suddenly raised its head, and sprayed out a terrifying black energy. Goku was so frightened that he could only activate the Kaioken 4 times. He used up his last bit of energy, and knocked him away with one palm. Not dead yet. Frightened, Goku was already prepared for the possibility of the dragon's counterattack, and was even ready to activate 4x or even 5x Kaioken. However, when he came to his senses, he found that the dragon had already flown into the universe. That's right, he was flying directly into the universe, and from a distance, he could see a strange looking universe spaceship parked in space. Can this guy survive in the universe? But that's not the point. The point is that this guy escaped. Just escaped. To be honest, Goku's impression of the strong men in this world is not that they have much backbone. There are some who beg for mercy on the verge of death, but there are really few who have been beaten to this point and can decisively escape before they run out of gas. It's like a gambler who can stop when there are only 1/10 chips left. Now that we have reached this point and our energy and blood are high, it will definitely be a desperate fight. Unless the outcome is already decided, or the difference in strength is too great, we will consider escaping in order to survive. Ding. Defeat the demonic dragon, the head of the 3 demonic stars, gain energy, and increase your ki by 165,000. The whole body felt relaxed, and the majestic energy seemed to return instantly, and became more abundant, giving Goku a feeling of sublimation, and the Saiyan blood in his body became even hotter. The tail behind him kept swaying without him noticing, as if it was alive. On the universe spaceship, Goku left Enma Star, and embarked on his way back to Earth. After changing his clothes and adding some food, Goku stood in the cockpit of the spaceship, looking at the strange and deep universe space in the demon world, with no emotion or anger on his face. Mira stood behind him and reported to him every move Mora had made. Got it? Goku waved his hand, motioning for her to go away first. Although Mira doesn't know his thoughts, she can be regarded as his confidant in the demon world so far. If possible, he can cultivate it naturally. Unfortunately, he doesn't know very well how the demons improve their strength, and the practice of ki does not work. Mora's origins are unknown, and his status as a demon scientist makes him a little taboo. To be precise, it is the 3-word scientist. In the entire Dragon Ball universe, these 3 words are simply synonymous with time bombs. Who knows what they will mess up. The most terrifying thing is that the upper limit of these powers is still ridiculously high. Not to mention artificial humans, the most straightforward one. Among all the gods of destruction in the universe, there seems to be one who controls a robot, although I don't know if it's a hobby or if I really rely on that robot to fight. It is enough to illustrate the potential and upper limit of these scientists. Once you have some dangerous ideas and put them into practice, it will be a disaster. Mira turned around and walked out. When she reached the door, she saw Mora walking towards her, frowning and saying nothing. Mora put one hand in the pocket of her research uniform, walked up to Goku with a nonchalant expression and said, "Congratulations, sir, for defeating the demon dragon, the leader of the 3 demon stars." Turning to look at Mora, Goku didn't say anything. He just raised his hand and said, "Where's the thing I want? It's ready." Mora smiled and handed Goku a wristband inlaid with blue gems. The device was not big and could fit on his hand. Goku took it and brushed it slightly. Mora explained in time. This device allows adults to survive in the universe, but it requires the adult's energy. With the adult's energy, they should be able to survive for a year. He glanced at Mora meaningfully. He didn't have to pursue Mora's actions of secretly spying on his strength, but that didn't mean he would let the other party do whatever he wanted. And his purpose of asking the other party to make this device is self-evident. He saw the powerful body of the dragon that can survive in the universe. Just like the Frieza clan, there are even some universe people around Frieza who can do it. This kind of talent may not represent absolute strength, but it represents extremely strong vitality and is almost the standard for top universe races. To be honest, if you want to rank all the races in the universe, the Saiyans can only be regarded as above average in the universe before they transform into Super Saiyans. Even after the transformation, only the combat power reaches its peak, and the physique cannot be changed. Even without transforming, the level of combat power is very different. Frieza's final form can be permanent, which means his normal combat power is 120 million. And what is the normal combat power of a Saiyan without transforming? Just 3 million. This is the gap in the performance of racial vitality. Only the legendary Super Saiyan can achieve the terrifying vitality to survive in the universe. It can even be said to be a bug-like existence. It is so strong that it has endless potential, which is simply terrifying. Just as Goku was returning to Earth, two meteors passed through the Earth's atmosphere and fell towards the surface of the Earth. Chapter 68 The Terrifying Demonic Cultivator. Vegeta and Nappa finally came to Earth. It's not to avenge Raditz, nor to recruit Goku, just because this planet can be sold at a good price, and to find someone to fill Raditz's vacancy. In the eyes of the two of them, Raditz was just trash that could be sacrificed at any time. However, what Nappa didn't know was that he was not the same in Vegeta's eyes. After the two landed on Earth, they first caused some destruction, and then found Piccolo as expected. Now, apart from Goku, Piccolo and Gohan have the highest combat power on Earth. Shai and Jinfan and others noticed it and rushed to the scene. Nappa saw that the normal combat effectiveness of everyone was not high, so he took out his trainers to deal with it. The soil on this planet is good, and it seems that it can produce good cultivators. He planted the cultivators. As the cultivator emerged, Yamcha was the first to stand up and challenge, wanting to test the opponent's strength. As a result, the cultivator blew himself up and was taken away due to carelessness. The famous scene of T-God was born. Afterwards, the Earth Warriors fell into a hard fight because they were afraid of the cultivator's self-destruction. Even though they had the strength to fight, they were still restrained for a while. Piccolo deliberately delayed time and did not help. Instead, he paid attention to Gohan's safety while staring at Vegeta and Vegeta. Damn it. Son Goku is not on Earth at this time. At the same time, the Devil World. Goku was sailing in the universe and was close to the Shura planet, but something unexpected happened. In the universe space of the Demon World, in front of the universe spaceship, a shadow appeared in the void without warning, and the alarm inside the spaceship blared. Warning. Warning. Ultra high energy unit detected. Danger. Danger. Requesting evasion. Requesting evasion, sir. That's a demon cultivator. Goku was standing in the cockpit at this time, looking out through the protective cabin, and saw the shadow in front of him slowly raising his hand. The edges of his palm were dark, but the terrifying energy bomb with a core like a star gradually condensed, and then began expansion. Soon, the energy had expanded to cover the sky and the sun, like a miniature sun, annihilation bomb. Goku's figure disappeared into the spaceship, and the next moment he appeared in the space outside the spaceship. After a moment of adaptation, Goku's expression became extremely solemn. The demon cultivator in front of him gave him only one word: strong. Terribly strong. The combat strength has definitely exceeded 200,000, or even 300,000. It's even still improving, and the reality was just as he perceived. Inside the universe spaceship, Mora looked at the numbers rising crazily on the screen in front of him, with a solemn look on his face, and began to step back. The numbers on the screen are still rising, after exceeding 300,000. 31, 32, 33.39. At this time, the detectors in the spacecraft have begun to flash, obviously approaching a certain critical value and about to reach the limit. Call. Goku took a deep breath, and the next moment, he put his hands on his waist, gathering energy to shine on the stars of the universe. A red flame rose up and enveloped the whole body. The detector in the universe spacecraft reached its peak instantly and flashed crazily. Oops, turn it off quickly. It's too late. But the alarm flashed one after another, and when the value exceeded 500,000, sparks appeared, and then thick smoke. However, at this moment, a series of numbers were clearly beating in Mora's eyes. They were the soaring energy values of Goku and Moxiu, and the power between the two was still rising crazily like never ending. 510,000. 550,000. 600,000. She murmured, but then she couldn't help raising her hands to cover her eyes. A dazzling red light almost destroyed her homemade special detection device. At the same time, a scarlet word jumped crazily in her detection device, and then froze 1 million. Boom. Almost at the same time, Goku took the lead, launching the Super Turtle style Kigen with 4 times the power of Kaioken. The strength of the Demon Cultivator is too terrifying, and it is definitely not something he can compete with now, so he must strike first, and then find an opportunity to escape. That's right, he has no confidence that he can compete with the Demon Cultivator. The opponent's strength was far above his, which he had never expected. He didn't even show his transformation posture from beginning to end, but his energy was already unfathomable, approaching 1,000,000 levels. He couldn't let the Demon Cultivator act. You must take action first. Boom. Sure enough, the Demon Cultivator's eyes widened slightly, and he saw that Goku had taken the lead indecisively through the Death Annihilation Bomb in his hand. Under the crazy impact of the two energies, the universe flashed with strange black and blue brilliance, which continued to radiate and emit to the surroundings. The terrifying energy fluctuations made the universe spacecraft continue to shake, as if it might disintegrate at any time. Whispering sound. There must be no problem with the universe spaceship, Goku felt awe-inspiring. Otherwise he would be trapped in the demon world for a while, even if he didn't die. In this case, a sharp color flashed like cold stars in his eyes. Goku's eyes were dyed red at this moment, and the Saiyan blood in his body was almost burning. Kaioken, 10 times. Open it for me. Boom. In an instant, the Super Turtle style Kigen in his hand seemed to be injected with a terrifying energy. It was instantly upgraded to a level. It directly swallowed up the Death Annihilation Bomb and blasted it away with the Magic Cultivator. Not to mention, Goku's energy swept past the universe battleship group in the distance, destroying the entire fleet in an instant. Bite. A series of system prompts came, and Goku had no time to check carefully. After doing this, Goku's figure disappeared into the universe, faced the universe storm, and went down the river, found the universe spaceship that was blown away, and left the universe, the demonic world. In the deep space of the demon world universe, a figure floats quietly in the deep space. There is no sadness or joy in the eyes. With long black hair and star-like scarlet eyes, he looks like a noble demon duke. The clothes on his body were not damaged at all, and he was lying calmly in the void of the universe. Suddenly, the corner of his mouth curved, his expression became excited, and a thought spread. Interesting. Saiyan? This power is Saiyanation's? Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, it's so interesting. Haha, Master. Demon Cultivator. You, shut up. A voice came from the air, and the Demon Cultivator interrupted with a cold voice, and then a cold thought came out. Send the universe spaceship over as soon as possible. I want to find that Saiyan. Yes, the nearest universe spacecraft will probably reach you in 1 or 6 months. Please be patient. The voice on the other end obviously lacked confidence. Sure enough, after hearing this, the aura of the Demon Cultivator's whole body surged, as if it made the universe tremble, and his eyes darkened. The boundless aura of terror faintly exceeded a certain boundary, and his whole body was undergoing some kind of change under the black lightning. Goku's intuition was right. The strength of the demon cultivator was terrifying. Since the disappearance of Dabra, the king of the demon realm, Moxiu has become one of the most powerful contenders for the new king of the demon realm, not even one. At the same time, Goku, who had rushed back to Shuristar, did not stop at all, and returned to Earth directly through the demon realm gate point, immediately noticing some of the disappearing ki. Goku's face darkened, and he rushed towards the battlefield, while releasing his ki point through the perception of ki. He had roughly judged the situation at the scene. Piccolo was still alive, but probably injured, which was a blessing in misfortune, and Gohan seemed to be angry. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, Vegeta's Shock. Hahaha. Very good. I didn't expect that trash Kakarot to give birth to such a genius. Come with me. This is not a place where you should live. The blood of Saiyans should be in a wider world. Don't want. Bang. Ha. You ungrateful brat. In that case, just a moment ago, the two Saiyans saw that the cultivator was completely defeated. They became interested and decided to play slowly, while waiting for Goku to show up. Originally, the vegetable man only blew himself up and killed Yamcha in a sneak attack. The others became more vigilant and fought hard with the cultivator one by one. But Vegeta suddenly lost his patience and killed all the cultivators with just one blow, shocking everyone. This guy actually even, because he is very familiar with Goku, and because Raditz did not cause much damage before. Although the Saiyans in everyone's impression are strong and terrifying monsters, they still misjudge their cruelty of point. Then he took action with the handkerchief and easily seriously injured or killed the remaining few people. The battle was extremely tragic. Piccolo could compete with Nappa, but that was all. Seeing Piccolo being hit hard, Gohan's potential exploded, and he even knocked Nappa back. A magic flash almost made Nappa take his lunch. Vegeta was shocked by the scene in front of him. It's a pity that Gohan's explosion relies on the potential of his body. His training time is still short, and he is still unable to control his own power well to fight, let alone rely on the power of a sudden increase in potential. Sure enough, after a few moves, it was revealed that, although Vegeta wanted to win over Gohan, he had no intention of showing mercy. In his eyes, Saiyans are not that fragile. Just when he was about to seriously injure Gohan, the detector in his ear suddenly exploded, and smoke came out. Whoosh. A shadow flashed and appeared behind Gohan in an instant. He looked at Vegeta in front of him with cold eyes, took his attack with one hand, and said indifferently, "I'm sorry, my son is a genius, but it's not your turn yet. Come and tell me it's not your turn to teach him a lesson. Your bang." A powerful and heavy punch directly caused Vegeta to stumble back, his eyes blurred. Before he fell to his knees, he covered his abdomen with both hands and spit out a mouthful of acidic water uncontrollably. After kneeling on the ground for a long time, Vegeta roared in disbelief, "No, it's impossible. You can't be Kakarot. What on earth are you?" Goku revealed his tail behind him and ignored Vegeta. Instead, he picked up Gohan, wiped the marks on his face, and praised with a smile. "Gohan, you did a good job." He would never be stingy with his affirmation and recognition, especially for Gohan. If he wanted to transform from a coward to a qualified warrior, he could not do it simply by relying on an astonishing burst of potential. He also needed some experience and growth. Fortunately, there is still time. Goku will not let him be like in the original work, where he is clearly unprepared, but has to face crisis after crisis, before being forced to grow up. Not even a chance to grow. Absolutely not. Wow. Gohan cried and threw himself into Goku's arms. He cried very sadly. After all, he was only 6 years old. Goku didn't blame him. He just patted little Gohan to comfort him. "Dad, Piccolo, Uncle Piccolo and the others. Okay, have you forgotten what I said? Men are not allowed to cry." He patted Gohan on the back again, smiled and said, "Who do you see over there?" Piccolo was not dead. He was still breathing and had stood up at this time, but the others were indeed dead. Looking at the other side, behind a huge boulder, Akelobi dragged Krillin to a corner and fed him fairy beans while cursing. Really? Those monster Saiyans are too scary. You guys, it's too useless, isn't it? It makes me come here to give you fairy beans. Damn it. I don't know if that guy Goku can solve it. Thank you. Thank you, Akelobi. I misunderstood you. Klin's neck was almost broken. He chewed the fairy beans with all his strength and said it turned out that they had known each other since they were practicing in the Temple of Heaven. But Akelobi was not a martial artist at all. He could only be regarded as an earthling with extraordinary talents. In addition, he had been trained by the Cat Immortal for many years, and he had gained considerable strength under the influence of his own eyes and ears. There is no shadow of martial artist at all, and he has even threatened many times that he will never come here to die, which makes other people who also practice there have a grudge against him. He was really afraid of death, but in the end he had to bite the bullet and ran over to deliver the fairy beans. You are so verbose. Akelobi looked at the half-dead Klin, folded his hands, and turned his head to the side and said, "It was the cat fairy who asked me to give you fairy beans. Otherwise I wouldn't have come to strangle him." With that said, he held his katana and secretly peeked at the scene from behind the rock. When he noticed Vegeta falling to the ground, his eyes immediately dilated. He didn't care whether Krillin was dead or alive. He stood up and let Krillin roll aside half alive. "Goku. Okay. I knew you could definitely kill that guy. Okay. Kill him quickly and avenge Dumplings and the others," he said, still a little eager to try, and glanced at the knife in his hand, and then looking at Vegeta, who had slowly stood up, he hid back in shock. "I'm going to die. Why did that guy stand up again? Goku, come on." As he spoke, he quickly picked up Klin and ran away at a speed unparalleled by anyone else, and disappeared in a flash. Goku, Gohan, Piccolo, is this guy here to be funny? However, a few people didn't pay attention to this small episode. Yasuo, who is in a meaty suit, is still very powerful in team battles, putting Gohan down. Goku glanced at the sky in the distance and said, "It seems that it must be over soon. Gohan, go stay with Piccolo. He should have told you how to sense with ki, right?" "Yeah." Gohan nodded and then said, a little disappointed, "But I always fail to learn, which makes Uncle Piccolo very angry." Goku smiled when he heard this and said with relief, "It doesn't matter. It took Dad a long time to learn it. You have worked very hard. I will teach you slowly when I get home." Gohan looked surprised and nodded vigorously. "Yeah, okay, let's go, little." Gohan ran to Piccolo obediently. Gohan and Piccolo have almost practiced together. Although the order is not right, the foundation has been laid. As long as he teaches well in the future, Gohan's achievements will never stop here. TSK, Vegeta stood up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, stared at Goku in front of him and said coldly, "Kakarot, I never thought that a third-rate low-level warrior like you could have such strength. Is that all you want to say? You can get out after that." Goku's face gradually turned cold. Is Vegeta a good person? Of course not. Let's put it this way, even if he changes his ways, Goku doesn't think he is qualified to go to heaven or even keep his physical body. It's just because he was protecting the earth in the later period. Having stayed under Frieza for too long, Vegeta may still be forbearing in his heart, but this cannot change what he has done. But this cannot be blamed entirely on him. After all, everything has started since King Vegeta's time. It's already doomed. From the moment the entire Saiyan clan became Frieza's hawks and thugs, by becoming attached to Frieza, the Saiyan race was already counting down to destruction. There will never be a Super Saiyan to overthrow Frieza. That's why Goku didn't kill Vegeta directly. Chapter 70 Great Ape. Bang, drink. RRR. Vegeta was angry. After enduring humiliation under Frieza, he could hold back, but facing his own race, especially Kakarot, a low-level warrior whom he had always regarded as inferior to him, this contempt was his intolerable. Goku's words touched the last bottom line and pride in his heart. A war is imminent, but it is not so much a war as a unilateral suppression. The violent energy around Vegeta spread, and the sky storm and lightning gathered, causing lightning and thunder His feet instantly fell apart due to the huge force, and Vegeta rushed towards Goku with full of grief and anger. Whoosh, bang, bang bang bang. The figures of the two people flashed from the ground to the air in an instant. Between the collision of fists and feet, waves of air visible to the naked eye spread out mixed with the shock of air bursts, earth shaking, flying sand and rocks. Gohan raised his head, his eyes were overwhelmed, and Piccolo on the side reminded him, don't use your eyes, use your heart, and use your breath to feel. Well, Gohan's talent and understanding were both impeccable. Although it was only his first battle, he grew up very quickly and soon mastered a trick. He could vaguely detect the movement of Goku and his two men, and his sight also shifted accordingly. Although it is still unclear, it is commendable to have reached this step in a short period of time. I saw it. Uncle Piccolo, do you think Dad can win? Although Gohan's eyes followed the movement of the two people during the fierce fight, he could not see the process of the two people's fight at all. Piccolo's eyes also moved when he heard this, and he said, Humph, your father should be merciful, otherwise that guy would have been defeated. This guy, secretly clenching his fists, Piccolo thought that he had made great progress in this year's hard training, and Goku would not make much progress, even if he went to practice with the KO point. Although I knew there was still a gap between them when they faced Synopsis before point, but Piccolo can feel at this moment that Goku's power is stronger than before. At the same time, I felt unwilling and a little helpless. Even my ambition to conquer the world had faded a lot unconsciously. Point bang, puff, in one blow, Goku kicked Vegeta, causing him to vomit blood. But Vegeta actually injured the pain on his body, forced out the air with his will, and continued to attack, but his breathing was messed up, and his strength began to spread out, without any structure. Boom. Within a few moves, Goku blasted him into the sky with a kick and wave. However, just like stacking buffs, Vegeta's combat power increased from 18,000 explosive energy to more than 20,000. Not only that, it seems to be slowly improving. Sure enough, Vegeta's talent cannot be underestimated. After all, he is the prince of the Saiyans, and his bloodline is indeed not simple. After so many years of forbearance, his strength may have hit a bottleneck, but his potential is always building up. After being blown away, he came back with a burst of energy in an instant, fighting frantically with Goku with a desperate attitude. Goku frowned slightly. He couldn't continue. He had already sensed that Bulma, Kame Sennin and others were approaching. If they were allowed to get close to the battlefield, they might be affected accidentally. Vegeta needs to be dealt with quickly. At this thought, the energy around Goku suddenly exploded. Now, Vegeta didn't expect that Goku had not shown his true strength so far. He was so shocked that he had no time to react. He was hit hard by Goku one after another, and his whole body began to suffer heavy injuries. Click, there was a sound of cracking bones, and consciousness began to fade away. In the end, he was blasted into the sky by Goku. Vegeta's power can destroy planets. If he attacks the earth in anger, he will be in trouble. There was only a tiny black spot left in Vegeta's sight, and Goku could also feel that Vegeta's energy was weakening. At this moment, Gohan on the ground suddenly saw something, raised his hand, and pointed to the sky. What is that? Piccolo heard the sound, and looked in the direction of his finger, but when he saw it, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly shouted, Goku, watch out for the moon. After saying that, Piccolo turned around decisively and cut off Gohan's tail, which had begun to change, with a wave of his hand. Moon, although he has never seen it, Piccolo has done nothing else in the past few years, and has done a lot of research on all the information about Goku. Naturally, he also knows that he will transform when he sees the moon. But it's daytime now, where does the moon come from? Goku also had this doubt, but when he looked up at the almost phantom moon in the sky, his eyes were still slightly distracted for a moment, and a violent thought seemed to spurt out of his body, almost destroying his will in an instant. Destroy. Roar. The roar of a giant ape seemed to come from the depths of his soul, making Goku look fierce, with sharp canine teeth growing out of his mouth, and his eyes turning scarlet. Damn it. What the hell is this moon? With a trace of reason, Goku hurriedly lowered his head and tried his best to restrain the violent force in his body. He could even feel that his potential was about to move. Once this Saiyan's most primitive power was stimulated, his potential would also follow suit. Release. By then, his goal of reaching 300,000 combat power will be in vain. Before he solved the demon dragon, his fighting power was 90,000. Counting the 160,000 he spent to defeat the demon dragon, it is now 250,000. Later, although he did not defeat the demon cultivator, he swept across the demon world fleet under the demon cultivator, and a large number of demons among them also, provided him with the combat power of 20,000 point. So his current combat power is 270,000. The goal of 300,000 yuan is very close, and the potential value is as high as 9 points, just 1 point away. Under such conditions, if he releases his potential early, he will be only one step away from the bottleneck of 3 million, but that step is also a natural chasm. If he is one step away, he will lose everything. How could he allow that to happen? Heartbroken, Goku looked at the tail behind him and cut it off with a decisive wave of his hand. As long as it is not sealed, it can still grow back in the future. But if I transform now, the earth will probably be destroyed. Raw. Kakarot. At this moment, a huge shadow shrouded in the sky. Vegeta actually completed the great ape. At this moment, from a high position, the giant ape's terrifying energy is concentrated on his hands, and a super large Kigen wave is about to fall. Flash cannon. Goku's face tightened, and he decisively gathered ki with both hands, using the maximum power, turtle style kicking. Boom. The two energies set off an unprecedented super hurricane on the earth's surface, causing sand and rocks to fly, and hills to collapse. Uncle Piccolo. Piccolo grabbed Gohan, who was almost blown away, and blocked his eyes with one hand, fighting against the terrifying impact coming from the front. Bulma and others were riding on the plane more than 10 kilometers away. At this moment, the plane was like a fallen leaf in the storm, shaking constantly, as if it was about to fall at any time. Oops, everyone, hold on tight. I just said don't come. I want to go home. On the battlefield, Goku could feel the strength of Vegeta after his transformation. The combat power is close to 210,000. This guy can only be said to be the prince of the Saiyans. Just the fact that he can maintain his sanity after transforming into a giant ape has surpassed most Saiyans. Goku's power can suppress him, but Vegeta's anger seems to have become a catalyst, causing his strength to continue to rise. If the two of them continue to fight like this, the earth will definitely suffer first. With this thought, Goku maintained the super turtle style kicking, and red flames rose from his feet to Kaioken. Chapter 71. The potential of Saiyans. Ugh. This is impossible. Kakarot. Goku activates twice the Kaioken, and his combat power soars to over 500,000. Even if Vegeta's great ape was 10 times stronger, it would be useless. The terrifying energy directly swallowed up the energy of the flash cannon and the huge shadow, and flew into the universe. Snap. A large amount of gravel and dust gradually fell to the ground, and Goku let out a sigh of relief, and fell back to the ground. Ding. Defeat the giant ape Vegeta, gain energy, and increase your energy by 180,000. After returning to the ground, Goku searched for it. Finally, he, Piccolo, and Gohan found two spherical universe ships dozens of kilometers away, which were the two ships that Vegeta and Nappa came on. One of the ships is emitting a projection light at the moment, and the moon projection in the sky is clearly caused by this thing. I'm afraid this is the model specially configured for planet Vegeta, so being able to project the moon as a Saiyan exclusive method is simply terrifying. Boom. Without hesitation, Piccolo fired a magic piercing light killing cannon to destroy the projected ship. Goku looked slightly sideways, but after all, this trick was developed. Goku. At this moment, Klin came over, followed by a plane flying from a distance, and Oolong and others in the distance had already begun to say hello. Goku smiled, and after waiting for a while, the plane landed, and Shishi came too. He immediately rushed over and hugged Gohan, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, to check if he was injured. Gohan. Are you hurt? Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? I'm worried about my mother, you know. Goku shook his head helplessly. She did still dote on Gohan a little, but it was much better than before. Bulma came over, gently stretched out his hand to hold Goku's arm and said, I have brought the Dragon Ball here, and I can resurrect Saiyan, Fan and the others at any time. There's no rush. I've entrusted the King of K to take care of them. It won't be too late to resurrect them after a while. Anyway, Piccolo is still alive and the god is not dead either. Then it's up to you. Then Bulma looked at the people who had gathered and announced loudly, everyone, the celebration banquet is ready. Go back and celebrate the victory. Yeah, I'll reluctantly go there if there's something delicious to eat. Yachirobe also ran over in a cheerful atmosphere. Everyone decided to go to Bulma's house to celebrate. Goku and Gohan said something, and then little Gohan walked towards Piccolo who was about to leave. Uncle Piccolo, are you coming too? Piccolo subconsciously wanted to refuse, but looking at Gohan's hopeful expression, he did not refuse decisively due to some strange combination of circumstances. Goku smiled. Piccolo may not have completed the ultimate evolution yet, but his mentality has gradually been changed by Gohan's influence point, or should I say neutralization point. He initially asked Piccolo to teach Gohan, hoping that Gohan could learn Piccolo's calmness and decisiveness, which are essential elements for a warrior. With these 2 points, Gohan may not be able to become a qualified warrior, but he certainly will not. What mistakes will be made in big things. This is what the Saiyans lack the most. As we all know, the false weakness of Saiyans is the tail, and the real weakness is the wind and waves. Especially when his strength increased, even Goku couldn't control the feeling of expansion from the inside out. He almost showed an invincible face, and then played tricks on his opponents in various ways. Whoosh! At this moment, a white light streaked across the sky and rushed into the universe. Piccolo and others' expressions changed greatly. Oh no. That Saiyan is not dead. Then he won't come back to kill him. Everyone was a little panicked, but Ulan was unusually calm at this time. Okay, even if that guy comes again, Goku can kill him directly. This is true. Goku looked at the distant universe spaceship, his eyes slightly focused. Host, Son Goku bloodline, Saiyan, lower level warrior, age 22 key, combat power 450,000, 9/10, superpower, gravity control, 20 times gravity. If Vegeta doesn't transform, he'll be dead in one move. If he gets serious, and there's no suspense at all. And he is now quite confident that he can cope with the coming crisis. After Vegeta sent a wave, his combat effectiveness has reached an unprecedented height! 450,000 combat power. As long as his potential is released, his combat power will soar directly to 4.05 million, directly comparable to Frieza's third stage, or even higher. More importantly, this has exceeded the minimum threshold for transforming into a Super Saiyan, which is 3 million combat power. At that time, he only needs an opportunity to directly transform into a Super Saiyan and enter the top level of the universe. But Goku is not satisfied with this. If the Great Elder of Namek can bring out more of his potential, his strength may be even greater. This kind of opportunity is rare, so he will still go to Namek. Otherwise, it would be too slow to improve your strength just by practicing on your own. For Saiyans, if they want to quickly improve their strength, they can only rely on the potential accumulated in daily life to be released when they are about to die. If it is not available, then it will be embarrassing. Otherwise, Goku will not be able to improve his strength in normal times, and it will be almost impossible to achieve results, and he can only show it at critical times. But even so, Goku's potential is not unlimited, so he cherishes this opportunity to improve his potential. Hateful. Before leaving, Goku frowned suddenly, and Piccolo also stopped. He turned around and saw that it was Nappa. Because he was injured by Gohan, Vegeta didn't notice it, and others ignored his presence. At this moment, he actually hid in the corner and followed him. Goku gave Piccolo a look, and the latter disappeared. After a moment, Nappa's anger completely disappeared. Vegeta still has some pride as a Saiyan prince, but Nappa and Raditz have been completely destroyed. In the universe, on a huge flying saucer-shaped spaceship. Snap, snap, the tail kept hitting the ground of the universe spacecraft, sending out waves of terrifying shocks that made people numb their scalp. Hey, Dodoria-san, did you hear that? Of course, King Frieza, Dragon Ball, Dodoria stood aside and said respectfully, I will go to the planet called Earth and bring you the Dragon Ball. A pair of eyes that emitted cold evil light turned to him. Frieza did not speak, but the coldness in his eyes made Dodoria sweat profusely and tremble like chaff. Realizing that she had said the wrong thing, Dodoria did not dare to say another word. If he went to find the Dragon Balls, it would be impossible if he had no idea at all. Frieza would not believe him, nor would he believe anyone. Frieza slowly turned around, walked to his baby carriage, and sat in it. At this moment, another figure walked in, knelt on the ground respectfully and said, Good King Frieza, we have planned a route to Namek. We will arrive at Namek in about a month. Oh. Hehe, Champo-san, you did a good job. Everything is for King Frieza. Frieza laughed strangely again, but Dodoria glanced at Champo fiercely. Both of them were Frieza's right-hand men, but because of what he just said, he was obviously no longer trusted by Frieza. They say they are his right and left arms, but in fact they are just two dogs. Frieza can replace them at any time if he wants. Frieza is moody and can take them offline at any time. Chapter 72. Heading to Namek. At Boomer's house, the party was very lively. Everyone was celebrating the joy after a year of suppression. Mr. and Mrs. Breve were naturally very happy to see so many people visiting their home, and they warmly entertained them with delicious food. At this time, Mrs. Breve came over with a plate of freshly cut fruits. At this time, Goku was in a state of turmoil and eating happily. He really couldn't get used to the food of the demon world. Goku's appetite is still the same. Oh hey, in the corner, Gohan found Piccolo and walked over. Uncle Piccolo, HMPH. Piccolo looked away. Martial arts masters have excellent eyesight. Not far away, Klin showed a ghostly expression. He actually saw Piccolo blushing. Klin, I must be too seriously injured. I'm hallucinating. Haha. The party lasted for several hours, and a group of people went back to their homes. Piccolo wouldn't have come if it wasn't for Gohan's sake, so he naturally left early at this time, and Krillin and Kame Sennin left together. Shishi, on the other hand, was urging Gohan to do his homework. Yes, she had bought study materials for Gohan. 6 years old, he is just a child. Okay, anyway, just don't ask me to help you with your homework. You can take your time. Goku thought this way. Now Gohan's foundation is already there, like a piece of rough jade waiting to be carved. As long as he embellishes and guides it a little, Gohan's potential can be released. But before that, he still planned to take Gohan to Namek. The Great Elder's lifespan was running out, and he would lose it if he didn't harvest it. Then Goku, Bulma and others discussed going to Namek. No. Goku, you actually want Gohan to follow you on an adventure to an alien planet so far away? Do you, as a father, care about him? Well, Shishi was really a little angry when he found out about this, so he found Goku and started to reason. When Bulma saw this, he originally came to ask if he could help with the Goku Universe spaceship, but when he saw this scene, he spread his hands, turned around and walked over to tutor Gohan in his studies as a genius scientist. This kind of thing is trivial. Goku didn't spend much time, but with some assurances and some effort, he persuaded Shishi to let Gohan go with him. Shishi is not unreasonable. Goku has put a lot of effort into making up for and maintaining the relationship between the two. Shishi will never be tortured by life and become a hateful wife like in the original work. Have we discussed it yet? Bulma looked up at Goku when Shishi came over and picked up Gohan. Let's go back to Baozi Mountain first. Hey, Shishi, it's rare for you and Gohan to come here. Why don't you stay for a few days? I've prepared your rooms and you want to go shopping together tomorrow. Mrs. Breve came up with tea and was a little distressed to see this road. She felt a little embarrassed at this time. After all, the couple had never had any grudges against her and instead treated her as one of their own. Even Gohan is treated like his own grandson. In the end, she stayed and temporarily stayed at Bulma's house for a few days. Oh, that's great. Now, go to bed early. Shishi, Gohan, come and see if you like the room I prepared for you, Mrs. Brave enthusiastically took the mother and son away, not forgetting to wink at Boomer. Before leaving point, Bulma's face turned red. Immediately, Goku and Bulma were discussing about the universe spacecraft. No need for that. I remember the god said that the universe spaceship he took when he came to the earth can be used. I plan to let Piccolo go with him. He should want to go back to his hometown to visit. Goku smiled. Is this so? Bulma thought that Goku was not from Earth, but he did not mention it, but said with some resentment, really, I wanted to go with you to see what an alien planet is like. Goku shook his head and said helplessly, it is still a bit dangerous to go this time. If you have a chance next time, if you want to go, I will take you with me. Bulma smiled, with a happy smile on his face, but then rolled his eyes at him and said resentfully, what an idiot, can't you just say you are taking me alone? You can just lie to me. Well, Goku scratched his head. He was not good at sweet words, but he could make up for it with practical actions. A few days later, Goku found the god Piccolo and told him his plan to go to Namek. The reason was naturally that he didn't necessarily need to use the Dragon Balls of Namek, but he definitely wanted to prevent Frieza from getting them. After learning of his actions, the King of K simply sent a telegram. Goku, I leave everything to you. Don't let Frieza get the Dragon Balls of Namek, otherwise the universe will be in danger. I understand, Lord KO. Goku actually wants some benefits, but the KO doesn't have any good things in his hands. However, he has a lot of connections in the underworld, so he is not in a hurry. With these connections, will he be able to run away from the KO if he has something to do with him in the future, not to mention anything else, as long as he gets rid of Frieza, a fox that even the great realm kings have to consider. The gods below Supreme K will have to give him some slack. After all, he has directly shouldered the responsibility for these gods' cause and effect that may offend the god of destruction. For this favor alone, he uprooted Yama's golden apple tree and was only verbally scolded for a few words. Who dares to say anything? Maybe if he asks the great realm king for it, the other party will give him 2 more trees. Goku, you have to be careful. The god was already sweating and ordered as if he was frightened. He had to be careful when meeting the king of Yama, let alone the king of the realm, whose status was too severely suppressed. Well, god, let's take our leave. Celestial. Got, Mr. Popo, goodbye. Gohan waved his hand, and Krillin bowed slightly, and then several people exploded with energy, and flew directly from the Celestial Temple. Krillin also wanted to go, and he asked for it. Maybe he was a little stimulated, so he hoped to break through himself. Goku naturally didn't refuse. Anyway, this trip to Namek was simply experience. It wasn't considered a risk, if he was sure of it. Of course, there might still be some conditions for transforming into a Super Saiyan, twists and turns. Therefore, he will try his best to accumulate a deeper foundation before this, and lower the standard of this condition. Soon after, several people came to the plateau where Piccolo usually practiced, and found in a valley the universe spacecraft that the gods took when they arrived on the Earth. It was a white universe spacecraft with several spikes on the surface. When Goku had to find a similar thing to describe, one actually popped up in Goku's mind, and that was a carapace cocoon. Buzz. Phew, the launch of the spaceship was very smooth. Piccolo is a natural alter ego, and can naturally speak Namekian, so he can pilot this spaceship. This is also the reason why Goku refused Bulma's help. It can save a lot of time. On the universe spacecraft, Gohan was very happy to see Piccolo, and walked over on his own initiative. Uncle Piccolo. Piccolo nodded slightly, his expression invisible, but anyone who knew him knew that his expression meant he was in a good mood. Uncle Piccolo, can you continue to teach me how to practice? Piccolo subconsciously wanted to agree, but at this moment Goku came over, picked up Gohan, and walked to the rest cabin of the spacecraft. He smiled and said, Gohan, have you forgotten what your mother said? Children can't stay up late, go to bed early. This is also a part of spiritual practice, but Uncle Piccolo is different. Oh. Gohan lowered his head in disappointment. Goku is a little funny. Piccolo directly photosynthesizes, and his work and rest patterns are of course different from those of Earthlings and Saiyans. Moreover, a regular life and rest routine is conducive to calming the mind, and is the entry-level foundation for Kama's and Ryu's key practice point. It seems simple, but this set is very suitable for Earth and Saiyans, and is even useful for further training with gods. After all, it is the experience accumulated by Kame Sennin over hundreds of years. It may not be profound, but it is definitely the foundation of the foundation. Gohan has the foundation, but he can't aim too high. He should start to guide it. Piccolo didn't say anything when he saw this. He just turned around and sat in the cab with his hands folded. Humph. Chapter 73 Bulma's Adventure. Just as Goku and others left the Earth, the West capital, Bulma's backyard. What is this? It looks valuable. The blonde lanky, who had not appeared for a long time, walked up to the huge spherical universe spacecraft, raised her hand and knocked twice, making a bang bang sound. Bulma was wearing a researcher's white coat, with one hand on his hip, head held high, and proudly said, "This is the universe spacecraft that my father and I were researching a few years ago, based on the results of Goku's research when he was a child. So, what are you going to do?" Violet also came over, chewing gum, holding her hands, looking interested. She was invited by Bulma. It turned out that Bulma and Dr. Brief left their contact information when they helped her defuse the bomb. She happened to hang out with Lanky, so they came together. I plan to leave the Earth and see the stars in the sea. Bulma was high-spirited, well, full of zanga or a point. Although she is no longer the girl she once was, her adventurous spirit seems to have always been there. Click. Upon hearing this, the blonde lanky took out a gun and said enthusiastically, "Universe pirate? It's interesting. No, I'm going to Namek to see it." Bulma waved her hands repeatedly, feeling that letting Lanky come over was a bad decision, but this did not stop her enthusiasm. Stinky Goku, you dare not take me with you, then I will go alone. At this time, Dr. Brief also completed the internal debugging of the spacecraft, walked out of it, came to Bulma and said, "Bulma, the debugging has been completed, and you can take off at any time, but you really want to go so far away, Dad? Please stop being so nagging. Didn't I come here looking for Violet? And aren't Goku and the others also on Namek Drive?" Brief glanced at Violet and nodded. That's right, he had helped the other party dismantle the bomb chip in his brain, so he naturally knew that the other party was an artificial human and had amazing powers. A moment later, after Bulma checked it over, he couldn't wait to take the three of them onto the universe spacecraft. That's right, 3 people. In addition to Violet and blonde Lanky, she also boarded the spacecraft. Seeing that there was no movement from the spaceship, she urged, "Bulma, let's go quickly. Gohan may be arriving soon. What if there is danger? Have you studied hard and eaten well? I'm so worried. Goku is really..." Although it had been discussed, she regretted it after Gohan and Goku left, and was worried to death. "Okay, let's go." After Bulma completed the debugging, he immediately raised his hand and pressed the red start button. The spacecraft suddenly shook under the huge kinetic energy, and hot flames spurted out from below. The huge reaction force gradually caused the spacecraft to escape the gravity of the Earth and began to lift off. After a while, the universe spacecraft gradually rose to a height that could not be observed with the naked eye and entered the universe. Dr. Brief put his hands in his pockets below, looking at a part that fell in front of him, and fell into deep thought. It should be no problem. Boomer. Oh, Boomer, this kid really left in such a hurry. Afternoon tea is ready. Mrs. Brief came over with a fruit plate and saw this scene and said a little disappointed, "Meowin'." This way, the 2 universe spaceships left the Earth together and set off towards the distant planet Namek. Although the departure time was about the same, unexpectedly, perhaps because the God's universe spaceship was in disrepair or Namek's technology was average, Bulma's universe spaceship was actually faster. It didn't take long for him to catch up with Goku and others and head towards Namek. Goku, who was sleeping soundly in Piccolo's spaceship, suddenly opened his eyes. His perception of ki had reached an almost instinctive level. At that moment, he felt an inexplicable ominousness illusion. Forget it. Forget it. Go to sleep. Life in the universe spacecraft was very boring, not to mention the 2-month wait. Goku regretted not agreeing to come with Bulma. Finally, after 2 months of long sailing, although there were some twists and turns along the way, several people successfully arrived at Namek Point for some reason. It was more than half a month earlier than scheduled. Finally, here, is this the hometown of Uncle Piccolo? Gohan looked at the planet below curiously and couldn't wait to run out of the spacecraft to breathe fresh air. Piccolo also followed him out. Perhaps because he had returned to his hometown, a sense of intimacy arose spontaneously, and Piccolo's heart gradually calmed down. The Namekians are a peace-loving race, so even if Piccolo is the other side of the god, he will not be full of evil thoughts like the first generation Piccolo de Mayo. Even as time goes by, he will only become calmer and calmer. Goku and Krillin also came out. Goku was not eager to feel the surrounding environment, but closed his eyes slightly and immediately began to explore all the ki on the planet. A radar map was quickly sketched out in my mind through these ki. Piccolo noticed his behavior and began to perceive it as well. Gohan looked at it curiously. He couldn't do it yet, and Krillin couldn't do it either, but they could also sense ki within a certain range. The guidance of these 2 months has begun to show results. After a moment, Goku suddenly frowned and opened his eyes. No way, his eyelids twitched slightly, and his perception was mixed. The good news was that Frieza had not killed the Elder yet, but had played a cat and mouse game and stayed in his own universe spaceship. The bad news was self-evident. Goku rubbed his temples with a headache. After thinking for a moment, Goku turned his head and met Piccolo's eyes. Goku looked at Gohan and Krillin again and suddenly said, "Krillin, Gohan, you first follow Piccolo to find the people on Namek Point. After they meet up, they will express their intention. With their cooperation, it should be much smoother." Well, Gohan has already begun to learn ki in the past 2 months, and it is the most orthodox Kamazen style. The rest is just waiting to go to the Celestial Temple for further training. After returning to Earth, Goku has already arranged a growth path for him. By the way, Goku, where are you going? Krillin was a little confused. Goku, on the other hand, had slowly risen into the air. Hearing this, he smiled bitterly and explained, "Go and solve some troubles. I will meet you as soon as possible." As he spoke, he suddenly reminded him sternly, "By the way, control your ki, otherwise you will be discovered by the detector. In addition, these universe people do not look for ki through perception, so try not to confront Frieza head on. Frieza is very dangerous." "Yeah, I got it." Finally, he looked at Piccolo and nodded without saying anything more. Piccolo would definitely not let anything happen to Gohan, so there was no need for him to waste time by saying anything. Phew. The soldiers divided into 2 groups and flew in different directions. Namek was about the same size as the Earth, but it had 3 stars orbiting it, so there was no night here. Because of this, it is very suitable for plant growth, and it is also the perfect home for the Namekians. The Namekians' physiological structure is similar to that of a plant. Not only does it have super regenerative ability and vitality, but it only needs water and sunlight to survive. Chapter 74 Arriving at Namek. Namek, on an island with rugged terrain. Boom. Whoosh. Whoosh. Boom 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 boom. Wow. Help. Bulma was holding a Dragon Ball in both hands and kept running away, dodging energy bombardments from behind, whispering. Sound, freezers. Minions are all warriors recruited from various planets, so most of them are not weak in combat effectiveness. They basically start with a few hundred or even 1,000. As for the cronies around you, or the aces of the Jinyu Special Forces, their combat power is basically tens of thousands at this time. A small team was collecting Dragon Balls on Namek. Since there was no Dragon Ball radar and no ability to sense ki, they could only use detectors to find them in every Namek village. But this is undoubtedly extremely inefficient, and Frieza is not in the mood to find it himself. As luck would have it, when this team arrived, they had already discovered the Dragon Balls that had been obtained by Bulma and others. It turned out that Bulma and others landed on Namek a week ago. After some exploration, they were lucky enough not to hit Frieza's Legion. Bulma also relied on the Namek language that had been recorded to fly on the universe spaceship. Lee taught himself to master it, thus gaining the trust of the Namekians and successfully obtained the Dragon Ball. But the good luck seemed to have run out, and the few people who were about to return with the Dragon Ball were targeted by Frieza's Legion. Damn. It. What are you doing? Hurry up and grab that woman. The Dragon Ball that King Frieza wants is in her hand. Seeing that Bulma had not been hit for a long time, Minion A felt that he had been insulted and began to urge others to companions. As a result, when he turned around, he found that his 2 companions had been eliminated. Violet clapped her hands, and the Minion B who was chasing her had his head plunged into the ground and lost his breath. Things were a little better on the other side, but not by much. Damn it, the blonde Lanki's tapping had little effect, but she succeeded in attracting the opponent's attention. Taking advantage of this gap, she suddenly gathered energy with both hands and launched a turtle-style kicking that seriously injured Minion C and was unable to get up again. Don't look at Shishi like this. She already had a good foundation, but she didn't continue practicing after marrying Goku. Now that she ate the golden apple, her potential was stimulated and she climbed the Karen Tower. Under Goku's supervision, she resumed some practice. The reason was to allow Gohan to grow better, so she has put in a lot of hard work, and now his combat power is directly catching up with Krillin and others. Before reaching 800, Krillin has proven that the potential of people on Earth is not low. Damn it. Minion A was furious at this time, but he also sensed the threat. He turned the energy transmitter in his hand and pointed it at Lanky and Shishi. Cold sweat broke out on his face, and he was ready to run away. Be careful, Bulma reminded hurriedly. In desperation, she directly used the huge Dragon Ball in her hand as a weapon and smashed it out. Her strength was not ordinary, and her combat power was close to 100. She also ate the golden apple, but she just had no foundation. Bang. The aim was very high, and the headshot was shot directly. Minion A was caught off guard and received this blow. Tears of pain came out, and he said angrily, "Damn it. You be asterisk 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 D woman." Bulma was already so angry that he almost vomited blood. He immediately changed the target and aimed the energy transmitter at Bulma. The energy gradually condensed and Bulma was startled. However, in the next moment, with the explosion of the detector in his ear, a hand directly grabbed the hand of the Minion A who, as soon as he raised his head, he met a pair of calm eyes. A tail turned into an after image and whipped out. It flew out in an instant, directly smashed a corner of the island, and fell into the water, stirring up the water surface. With just one blow, the opponent was dead. Goku didn't even bother to check. Jinyu would have been disabled if not dead, let alone a minion. Goku, Bulma, and others looked surprised and gathered together. Violet picked up the Dragon Ball and walked over. "Why are you here?" Goku felt his eyelids twitching. Why does this happen? I don't understand. Bulma's eyes averted for a moment, and then she leaned in front of him with her hands on her hips, and said in an unreasonable and confident manner, "What? We came across the universe to help you. You don't appreciate us, but you still blame us." Snort. Well, the "we" was emphasized, and it turned out to be Bulma, who knew how to drag others into trouble. Obviously he also knew that Goku would definitely be angry if she took so many people to Namek on her own initiative. Cool. Violet said nothing and blew a bubble. She was the bodyguard invited by Bulma. After all, the price offered by Bulma was too much for her to refuse. "Goku, where is Gohan? Why aren't you with me?" She was more concerned about Gohan's safety. Goku explained that at this point, he could only let a few people follow him first, so that at least his safety would be guaranteed. When he noticed that even the blonde Lanky came, he had given up on why they were here. That's it. After looking at a few people, Bulma and Lanky couldn't fly, and some assault clouds couldn't be summoned from the earth, so they stretched out their hands to Bulma and Shishi, then looked at Violet and said, "Lanky, I'll leave it to you. Speed. It might be a little faster, is that okay?" The bubble in her mouth burst and Violet nodded. At this time, Bulma suddenly took out a prop, a watch-shaped prop, and handed it to Shishi and Lanky, including Violet, as if he was well prepared. Immediately, several people were directly shrunk into figures under the influence of the watch, and Goku didn't know for a while whether to brag about Bulma or what. Although Bulma has been married to him over the years, one of the reasons why the two have never had children is that Bulma spent a lot of time doing research. Goku respected her decision and did not interfere. He believes that Bulma's talent is definitely no less than that of Dr. Brief. If he had not been tired of life so early, he would definitely be able to shine. Just like Mr. and Mrs. Brive, both husband and wife are optimistic from the bottom of their hearts. Otherwise they would not just let Bulma come out casually. So Bulma has researched a lot of black technology over the years, including the universe spaceship they used to come to Namek, but Goku really didn't know. Goku kept his breath at about 5,000 and flew towards the place where the Great Elder was encountering some of Frieza's minions along the way. They would decisively destroy the detectors and then deal with them, thus arriving at the place where the Great Elder was without any danger. Mother, Bulma, and Lanky, why are you all here? Klin held his head in shock. Goku didn't know how to explain it for a while, so that's it. However, after taking a closer look, he found that Gohan and Krillin's combat effectiveness had been qualitatively improved. Directly increased from more than 1,000 to tens of thousands. Gohan's combat power is about 18,000 and Krillin's is 13,000. Establishing the title of the strongest person on Earth. Piccolo, on the other hand, seems to have developed its potential, and its combat power has soared to 33,000. This is only half of what the gods separated after coming to the Earth. It can be seen that Piccolo's potential is indeed extraordinary. It is no accident that he was chosen to be sent out as the fire in the crisis of Namek. Not every Namekian has the ability to make Dragon Balls. Chapter 75 Uncovering Potential. Ahem. Elder, in the building where the Great Elder was, Den looked at the Great Elder's extremely weak appearance and was very worried. But the Great Elder just raised his hand, touched Den's head, motioned for him to stand aside, looked at Goku who walked in, and slowly said, I already knew you would come. The Saiyans who grew up on the Earth. You have something that other Saiyans don't have. It's incredible, Great Elder. Goku bowed slightly. After all, he was asking for something from the other party. Considering the current state of the other party, this request might seem a bit too much. Goku was a little hesitant for a moment. After all, he was more or less aware of his own situation. Even according to the original work, does Goku have high potential? To be honest, it's not very high. The foundation is solid, but the real highlight is actually just the Frieza chapter. It is true that he became a Super Saiyan, but Vegeta also caught up within a few years. In the subsequent Cell chapter, Gohan caught up and took the lead in reaching Super Saiyan 2. If he had enough potential at that time, there was no reason why he would be stuck by this bottleneck. After 7 years of training in the underworld, Goku successfully entered Super Saiyan 2 and even developed the transformation of Super Saiyan 3. But this also indirectly proves that his potential has come to an end. So the transformation with huge flaws such as Super Saiyan 3 was deduced from the original basis. The most perfect state of Super Saiyan is full power, which makes up for the shortcomings of excessive loss of physical strength after transformation. Super Saiyan 3 is not just a simple loss of physical strength, but burn your body in exchange for short-term strength. For Saiyans, this kind of burning may be an acceptable consumption, but it is absolutely impossible to use this transformation as a regular combat method, and even as a trump card, it is somewhat lacking. Just like Goku opening Kaioken 10 times more, or even 20 times or 30 times. It is not impossible. But that kind of increase is meaningless, and the loss of energy is more than what he can control and convert into combat power. So in order to avoid exhausting his potential, Goku will not miss any opportunity. The Great Elder seemed to see what he was thinking, coughed slightly, and then said to Goku, you don't have to be burdened. Let your other companions come in. My power may help you, and there will be nothing left. Thank you. Goku let Bulma and Shishi come in, thought for a while, and called Lanky in. They are all just people from Earth. After their potential is unleashed, they may not be able to reach the level of Klin, but their foundation will definitely be more solid. Sure enough, after being guided by the Great Elder, Shishi's ki increased several times, directly reaching a combat power of 3500. Bulma has 700, and Lanky has a combat power of 1400. This method is simply terrifying. However, they were all within the understandable range, and the Great Elder's anger did not weaken. Goku let the three of them go out first, then walked up to the Great Elder and stretched out a hand. Thank you. The Great Elder didn't speak. He seemed very tired. He slowly raised his hand and placed it on his. Goku closed his eyes slightly and could feel a wonderful energy guiding the potential in his body. Suddenly, the Great Elder's eyes opened slightly. Really? What an amazing potential. It seems you have a good teacher. I see the deeper potential in your body, but I can't fully guide it out. You need to explore it yourself. You have to be mentally prepared. There are many uncertainties in this power. The Great Elder's words made Goku frown, and he kept thinking about the meaning. But then the Great Elder did not waste a little time and started taking action. A burst of energy burst out of his body unconsciously. Goku's nerves became tense. In an instant, his energy began to increase! 450, 000, 460,000, 470,000. 0.530, 000! Although the improvement is not as big as expected, it is amazing enough. More importantly, Goku can feel that his potential is overflowing at this time. 10 points of potential, but at this moment, Goku suddenly felt a surge of blood in his body, and an uncontrollable force burst out of his body. He hurriedly took half a step back, and a crazy and violent thought impacted his consciousness. Roar! A giant ape seemed to roar in his mind, making Goku turn pale and almost lose his mind. Is this the potential in his body? Suddenly he felt a strange movement behind him. When Goku lowered his head, he discovered that his tail had grown back. Great Elder Dent looked worriedly at the Great Elder, who was extremely weak and could no longer make a sound. Goku frowned and bowed slightly to the Elder. I will let all the Namekians live. The Great Elder could no longer speak, but his wrinkled face still showed some gratitude, and he nodded slightly. Immediately, Goku turned around and walked out of the Great Elder's residence and came to the others. Goku, your tail. Bulma noticed the change. Goku nodded. Yeah, it's grown again. Knowing that he didn't have much time, he began to make arrangements, asking Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin to escort Bulma and others back and take the spaceship directly to leave Namek. Then, what do you do, Goku? You are going on an adventure again. Shishi. Bulma, listen to me first. Goku explained that Krillin and Gohan's purpose of coming here has basically been achieved. There is no need to stay. Bulma and others have no need to come here. At least the timing of coming is definitely wrong. In the end, several people agreed, but before leaving, Bulma hesitated and his eyes gradually became firmer. Before leaving, Bulma handed him the Dragon Ball radar. Buff. You won't leave? Goku glanced at Violet, who didn't leave together, and frowned slightly. Violet glanced at him, stretched out a hand, squinted her eyes, and said with a smile, how about I help you protect them by lending me some energy? Violet's transformation is very special, and she is a special artificial human that can be upwardly compatible and improve herself. And this improvement is permanent. The only drawback is probably that it cannot directly absorb to strong Kigen waves, otherwise it will be damaged. She coveted Goku's ki when she was on Earth, but she never had the chance. Snort. Goku snorted, but did not refuse. He directly raised his hand to transmit a breath to her. She closed her eyes slightly, with an expression of enjoyment on Violet's face. At the same time, ki gradually appeared in her body. As an artificial human, this could only be sensed during the absorption process or fighting. After a while, Goku felt that Violet had absorbed half of his energy and stopped immediately. This is a deposit to send them away safely. TSK. Although Violet was a little dissatisfied, she still flew away and chased Bulma and others before leaving. Goku turned back and blinked at him. Goku was actually very confident that, even if he didn't give him this power, Violet would help. After all, she was invited by Bulma. However, Frieza's men still had some fighting strength, so he had to guard against them. Violet's current combat power is close to 300,000. As long as she didn't meet Frieza himself, even the Jinyu team would never be her opponent. It would be more than enough to escort Bulma and others to safety. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.